Chapter 1380. Swoosh. The sound of water echoed as a figure walked out of the primordial divine spring drenched. The figure merely shuddered gently, and the water vapor around him disappeared. Black hair, green robes and delicate features. His body could be said to be perfect and shone with a green glow. His skin was crystalline, as though it was carved from divine jade, and a massive life force was about to seep out of his body. His eyes shone brightly with a divine glow. He did not look like a cultivator at all. Instead, he looked like a god that could not be looked at. Just by standing there casually, he emitted a terrifying aura that made one want to prostrate and worship him. The expressions of some conjoint body mighty figures changed when they saw that figure. When the mighty figures met this figure's gaze, they were actually a little scared and subconsciously avoided his gaze. The expressions of the two patriarchs changed slightly as well. The patriarch of the Shiman family narrowed his eyes, and his pupils constricted as he said sternly, "Tao Lord Araki Takashi." "I'm Araki Takashi," Suzumo said slowly. The moment he said that, there was a commotion between the mighty figures of the two aristocratic families. Even for the conjoint body mighty figures present, those words were still rather intimidating. "Have you recovered from your injuries?" The patriarch of the Shiman family swept his gaze across Suzumo, and was secretly shocked as he probed. "I've recovered," Suzumo said indifferently. "Furthermore, let me correct a mistake of yours. I'm not the Dharma Daojun. I'm a conjoint body mighty figure." The hearts of the two patriarchs skipped a beat. However, the two of them were of high status and possessed powerful combat strength. Even at the conjoint body realm, they were top experts and could maintain their composure against Suzumo, who had just entered the conjoint body realm. Suzumo was expressionless as he asked indifferently, "Just now, you guys are the ones who want to kill me?" "I'm the patriarch of the Shiman family, Shiman Tao." Shiman Tao nodded slightly to Araki Takashi. "I am Dongfang Xian, the master of the Dongfang family." Dongfang Xian smiled and said, "Araki Takashi, you must be joking. We're only here for the immemorial godly spring. As long as you step aside, Araki Takashi and Araki Takashi will not make an enemy out of you." Upon knowing that Suzumo had advanced to the conjoint body realm, Dongfang Xian changed his plan at the last minute and took a step back. "Not bad." Shiman Tao also nodded. "Oh." Suzumo raised his eyebrows and asked, "What if I don't?" The faces of the two patriarchs sank. After Suzumo finished speaking, the temperature in the hall instantly dropped to freezing point. After a long silence, Shiman Tao said slowly, "Araki Takashi, you're alone. You can't protect this primordial divine spring. I've never thought of occupying this divine spring. However, the owner of this divine spring is the Kitami clan, not you guys," Suzumo said. "The Kitami clan is already dead." Dongfang Xian sneered. "As long as there's a single person from the Kitami clan, you guys can't lay a finger on this divine spring." Suzumo's tone was calm, but there was an unquestionable power to it. "Araki Takashi, are you trying to start a war with our two families?" Shiman Tao finally revealed an impatient expression and said coldly with killing intent, "You're using the two families to suppress me?" Suzumo sneered. "I've just advanced to the conjoint body realm and don't want to kill anyone. It's not too late for you guys to leave now. Don't covet this divine spring from now on." "Ha ha ha ha." Dongfang Xian was so angry that he laughed and shook his head. "Araki Takashi, you're too arrogant. Do you really think that our two families are useless? I heard that Araki Takashi is invincible. It's a rare opportunity to meet you today. It's a good opportunity to witness it." Shiman Tao said coldly as well. "As you wish." Before he could finish his sentence, Suzumo had already attacked. He strode forward and stomped his feet on the ground, causing the entire hall to shake violently and the ground to explode. "How dare you!" Shiman Tao had not expected that Suzumo would dare to make the first move despite being surrounded by more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures without any warning. Suzumo opened his palm and grabbed toward Shiman Tao's head. Suzumo's fingernails shone with a cold green glint and were incomparably sharp. Before his palm descended, Shiman Tao felt a sharp pain on his scalp. "You must have a death wish." Shiman Tao roared and his blood chi surged. His glove shone brightly as he channeled his blood chi and raised his fist, throwing it towards Suzumo's palm. Su Zimo did not move at all and clenched his fist, colliding heavily against Shiman Tao's. Bang! The fists collided. Accompanied by a deafening bang, a colorful dermic power glow burst forth from the point of collision and extended in all directions. Shiman Tao's expression changed starkly. He was wielding a Khanate mighty figure dermic weapon in his palm. Initially, he thought that his punch would be able to cripple Su Zimo's arm. However, to think that Su Zimo would be able to defend against his Khanate dermic weapon with his body. How is that possible? Shiman Tao was shocked and his face flushed red. His blood chi and dermic powers were already pushed to their limits. Is that all you've got? Su Zimo was calm and unmoved as he asked indifferently. All of a sudden, Su Zimo retracted his fist and punched out once more. The moment he punched out, the chi and blood in his body surged. Waves of earth-shattering sounds of tidal waves could be heard, rumbling and trembling. Tsunami blood. After Qinglian's true body transformed, her bloodline had already reached the tsunami blood level. Bang! The two fists collided once more. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of bones cracking could be heard from Shiman Tao's arm. In the blink of an eye, all the bones in his arm shattered, and then suddenly exploded, turning into a cloud of blood mist. The power of Su Zimo's punch was way too strong and destroyed one of Shiman Tao's arms. Ah! Shiman Tao shrieked and retreated rapidly. For conjoint body mighty figures, a severed arm was not considered a serious injury. In the blink of an eye, they could channel dermic powers and regrow it. However, the pain was bone deep. At the same time, the remaining 30-odd conjoint body mighty figures attacked as well. Su Zimo hugged his back gently and shielded Kitsune behind him. Against the incoming dermic arts and dermic weapons, he was fearless as he punched out one after another. Bang! 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 Be it dermic arts or dermic weapons, all of them were repelled by Su Zimo's fists. The crowd was shocked. That was a body of flesh and blood. Araki Takashi, who had entered the conjoint body realm, had actually cultivated his body to such a realm. In reality, the current Su Zimo was a creation Qinglian in human form. Furthermore, it was a grade 7 creation Qinglian, whose strength was comparable to Khanate mighty figure dermic weapons. What dermic weapon could hurt him? Su Zimo felt the life force essence in his body rumbling and surging. His organs shone with a divine glow, and his flesh was pure and flawless while his bones shone with a green glow. Every time he raised his hand, he would be able to release an unprecedented amount of power. This was not only the force of heaven and earth at the conjoint body realm, but also the power of the grade 7 creation Qinglian herself. Su Zimo had just entered the conjoint body realm, and Qinglian's true body had transformed. He was overjoyed, and did not even use any dermic arts or secret skills. He defended against more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures' attacks, with just a pair of fists. Chapter 1381. This. The conjoint body mighty figures present were shocked and felt their scalps tingle. In their eyes, the current Su Zimo was an unstoppable god who was incomparably dignified and could not be offended. It was said that in the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley, Tao Lord Araki Takashi's clone was the most terrifying in terms of dermic arts, secret skills and heaven and earth dharma characteristic. However, his bloodline was relatively weak, and he was not strong in melee combat. But now, Desolate Marshal was already able to fight against them without using any dermic arts or secret skills, and was not disadvantaged. Fufufu. Suddenly Su Zimo laughed. He had just entered the conjoint body realm, and was not familiar with the power of the conjoint body realm. Therefore, he was only defending passively, and had not taken the initiative to attack. But now, Su Zimo was gradually mastering that power after attacking repeatedly. You want to kill me with that little bit of capabilities? Su Zimo's gaze intensified, and he vanished from the spot with a bang. Because his movement technique was too fast, everywhere his figure passed by, the void would distort. Instantly, Su Zimo arrived before a conjoint body mighty figure. His blood chi surged, and he raised his hand to punch without any unnecessary movements. The conjoint body mighty figure raised the dermic weapon in his hands, and barely defended. Boom! There was a deafening sound. The mighty figure dermic weapon was shattered by Su Zimo's fist. Countless shards flew back, and entered the body of the conjoint body mighty figure. Among them, a few shards even pierced his face and penetrated his consciousness, destroying his essence spirit on the spot. The figure fell from midair. A single punch. A conjoint body mighty figure was dead. The hearts of many almighties shuddered when they saw this. At their cultivation realm, they were almost at the peak of Tianhuang mainland. Mahayana patriarchs were in seclusion all year round, and some half-martial ancestors rarely appeared as well. Conjoint body mighty figures were almost considered top experts of the various major sects and factions. But now, everyone felt fear in their hearts when they saw a conjoint body mighty figure killed with a single punch. Cultivation was not easy, especially at their cultivation realm. None of them wanted to die. However, once this great battle started, they already had no choice. Su Zimo's counterattack had only just begun. Boom! On the battlefield, Su Zimo didn't have any secret techniques or trump cards. He only relied on his physical body and bloodline to rampage around. No one could resist his strength. Or rather, none of the conjoint body mighty figures present could suppress the grade 7 creation Qinglian. Those who went head-to-head with Su Zimo were either killed or injured. The entire hall was dripping with blood, splattering everywhere. Kitsune hid in the depths of the primordial divine spring, afraid that she would be splashed by the blood of these mighty figures. One had to know that the energy contained within a drop of the blood of a mighty figure was enough to regenerate a severed limb. It was enough to easily destroy a perfected Jin Dan. This kind of battle was too far away for Bai Mingxue. However, to be able to witness such a battle between almighties had greatly increased her horizons. Kitsune curled up in a corner of the primordial divine spring, curling her body slightly nervously. Right then, she suddenly felt a strange movement in the water flow beneath the divine spring, as though something was swimming towards her. Bai Mingxue was shocked. She tried her best not to scream. She was afraid that Su Zimo would be affected because of her. With that slight delay, that thing had already arrived beside her and circled around her. It even touched her gently, as though it did not have any ill intentions. What is this? Kitsune felt slightly relieved and looked down. There seemed to be a gigantic oval-shaped stone at the bottom of the divine spring. Its surface was rough, and there were mysterious patterns on it. Bai Mingxue subconsciously reached out her hand and carefully touched the stone. The stone did not dodge, and even rubbed against Kitsune's palm as though it was sentient. How mysterious, Kitsune lamented internally. It was as though she could sense that the stone's actions were comforting her and telling her to relax and not worry. Boom! Another loud bang came from the main hall. Kitsune looked up instinctively. Another conjoint body mighty figure fell from midair. There was no longer any life force in his body, and he was dead. In just a short while, more than 10 conjoint body mighty figures had died in the hands of Su Zimo. Although these people were conjoint body mighty figures, they did not head to Heaven and Earth Valley, nor did they witness that earth-shaking battle personally. It was only at this moment that they felt the fear brought about by Araki Takashi. However, the two family masters did not retreat. Araki Takashi, you're dead meat, Dongfang Xian said coldly. When I heard that there was a primordial divine spring here, I guessed that your cultivation might have recovered. Therefore, I've already informed the half-martial ancestor experts of my family to rush over. Dongfang Xian informed the half-martial ancestor partly because he was worried about Su Zimo and partly because he wanted to prepare for the primordial divine spring. If I'm not wrong, the half-martial ancestor of my Shiman family is here as well. Shiman Tao said slowly. Araki Takashi, the foundation of our ancient aristocratic families, is not something you can imagine. If you want to fight against the ancient aristocratic families single-handedly, you're courting death. Oh, however, Su Zimo was calm when he heard that the half-martial ancestor was here. He merely raised his brows slightly and said, since the half-martial ancestor is here, there's no need to hide. Let's see who's the one courting death. Araki Takashi, you're too arrogant. Right then, a figure suddenly appeared at the entrance of the hall, as though he appeared out of thin air, and walked in slowly. The figure wore simple Taoist robes, and looked to be middle-aged. Although he had ordinary looks, he had a lofty aura as he stood there. The moment the middle-aged man appeared, there was a subtle change in the battlefield. Greetings, Elder Zhu Ming. When the mighty figures of the Dongfang aristocrat clan, including Dongfang Xian, saw the middle-aged man, they retreated hurriedly and bowed. The Grand Elder of the Dongfang aristocrat clan was also a half-martial ancestor expert, and his Dao title was Zhu Ming. Fufu, Araki Takashi, seems like the lesson D fan taught you wasn't enough. Another voice sounded in the hall. An old woman walked in slowly with a hunched back and disheveled hair. She smiled sinisterly with only a few teeth left in her mouth. Greetings, Elder Silver Ring. When Shiman Tao and the others saw the old woman, they were delighted. A half-martial ancestor expert of the Shiman family. In the blink of an eye, the appearance of two half-martial ancestors changed the situation instantly. Even in terms of aura, the two aristocratic families seemed to have the upper hand. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat once more. Although those experts were extremely far away from her, she knew that half-martial ancestors were much stronger than conjoint body mighty figures. However, there was no fear on Su Zimo's face. On the contrary, there was a hint of mockery in his eyes as he smiled gently. Things are different today. I'm already at the conjoint body realm. Aren't you guys way too naive if you think that a mere half-martial ancestor can teach me a lesson? Chapter 1382. Eee. The old woman laughed with a sharp, ear-piercing voice that was extremely unpleasant. Did I hear wrongly? Araki Takashi, are you mocking us for being naive? The old woman glared at Su Zimo with a dark gaze. Seems like you truly know nothing about half-martial ancestor experts. Zhu Ming Elder said indifferently as well. Araki Takashi, if you bow down now, I can make the decision to let bygones be bygones. Everyone was shocked. Zhu Ming Elder. Dongfang Xian could not help but say, this Araki Takashi killed so many of our conjoint body mighty figures. We can't let him off. Araki Takashi has to pay with his blood. Zhu Ming Elder did not say anything and merely glared. Dongfang Xian's heart skipped a beat, and he shut his mouth immediately. Zhu Ming Elder looked at Su Zimo with a strange glint in his eyes as he said temptingly, Araki Takashi, think about my suggestion. As long as you're willing to bow down and take a step back, I can let you off. You dare to embarrass yourself with such a low-level bewitching technique? Is that all a half-martial ancestor can do? Su Zimo gave a fake smile and looked at Zhu Ming Elder as though he was looking at an idiot. He established the Wu Dao and imparted martial arts to all living beings. His mind and will had already reached a peak, and it was difficult for anyone to affect his mind. Even Demoness Ji, who specialized in bewitching techniques, found it difficult to bewitch him. The only time Su Zimo fell for it was in the Grand Primordium Ancient Temple. At that time, he was considered to have lost to Monk Daming. However, he still broke free from Monk Daming's illusion later on. Zhu Ming Elder said that on purpose to bewitch Su Zimo. As long as Su Zimo hesitated, he would definitely reveal an opening. That would be the opportunity for Zhu Ming Elder to attack. However, he did not expect Su Zimo to have such a strong will that he was unmoved. More importantly, now that he was at the conjoint body realm and Qinglian was at grade 7, he no longer had any fear against half-martial ancestors. On the contrary, Su Zimo was eager to give it a try. Ever since the Dao inheritance ground, he had not been able to escape the threat of a half-martial ancestor. D-Fan attacked twice and almost took his life. And today, could it be that he had encountered a half-martial ancestor expert? Moreover, it was a half-martial ancestor expert from a super sect. Su Zimo wanted to test the strength of a half-martial ancestor. Zhu Ming, why waste your breath on him? Just kill him, the old woman said coldly. She flicked her sleeves and two silver lights flew out from them. They emitted a humming sound and arrived before Su Zimo in the blink of an eye. It was a pair of silver rings. It was also the magical artifact that made the old woman famous, indestructible. The blood chi within Su Zimo's body surged, and his gaze was like a torch. Against the dermic weapon of a half-martial ancestor, he had no intention of dodging or retreating. Instead, he raised his arms and clenched them into fists, punching towards the silver rings. You must have a death wish. A vicious glint flashed through the old woman's eyes. When he saw that, Elder Zhu Ming shook his head as well. To think that not only is Araki Takashi arrogant, he's also ignorant. To think that he would dare to use his body to receive a half-martial ancestor dermic weapon head-on. Before Elder Ju Ming could finish, a loud bang sounded from midair. Boom! Almost at the same time, his fists collided with the pair of silver rings. Immediately after, the old woman and Su Zimo's expressions changed at the same time. How is that possible? The old woman's turbid eyes widened as she stared at this scene in disbelief. Her dermic weapon did not cripple Su Zimo's hands. Elder Ju Ming could not continue as well as a look of shock flashed through his eyes. On the other side, Su Zimo frowned as well. The old woman's dermic weapon was clearly much stronger than other mighty figure dermic weapons. Right now he was a creation Qinglian in human form. A grade 7 creation Qinglian was comparable to a Khanate mighty figure dermic weapon. But now, although he managed to block the pair of silver rings, he felt a sharp pain in his hands, and they were slightly numb. Good. The old woman nodded repeatedly. No wonder you're so arrogant. So, you do have some capabilities. After pausing for a moment, the old woman changed the topic. However, if that's all you've got, Araki Takashi's name will be removed from the cultivation world in the future. To tell you the truth, just now, I've only used 70% of my strength. The old woman even laughed sinisterly at the end. Oh, is that so? Su Zimo replied indifferently. I've only used 50% of my strength earlier on. What a sharp tongue. The old woman's expression darkened as she shrieked. Prepare to die. What are you guys waiting for? Go and capture that B*TCH of the Biming family back. That B*TCH definitely has more secrets on her. It had to be said that the old woman was indeed sharp-eyed. The moment Dongfang Xian, Shimen Tao and the others arrived here, it meant that the secrets guarded by the Kitami clan were the creation Qinglian and the primordial divine spring. However, the old woman sensed that something was amiss. In reality, the secret guarded by the Kitami clan was not the primordial divine spring, but a Kuanping egg. Elder Destiny stood out as well. With a flick of his wrist, a cold sword appeared in his palm with a menacing sharpness. The moment the sword was revealed, the temperature in the hall plummeted. That sword is called Destiny, Elder Destiny said. Up till this point of my cultivation, there have been countless paragons and monster incarnates who died under Destiny. You, Araki Takashi, are one of them. Before he finished his sentence, Elder Destiny attacked as well. The situation changed instantly. 2 half-martial ancestors attacked Su Zimo at the same time. As for Dongfang Xian, Shimen Tao and the other conjoint body mighty figures, they moved one after another and circled around Su Zimo, charging towards Kitsune, who was in the primordial divine spring. Any one of them could suppress Kitsune, let alone so many conjoint body mighty figures. Su Zimo's expression turned cold. You guys must have a death wish. Suddenly, Su Zimo roared and channeled his essence spirit. This was the first time he channeled his essence spirit after advancing to the conjoint body realm. His massive spirit consciousness spread and endless dermic power circled around him. Su Zimo's fingers moved nimbly and changed hand seals repeatedly. He was so fast that afterimages appeared one after another. Great Sanskrit light fist. Flying sand and stone. Apocalyptic fiend fist. Om. Ma. Ni. Ba. Mi. Ha. Fiend suppression seal. Demon subduing seal. Immortal trap seal. Immovable foundation seal. Great Vajrawil seal and Great Mount Meru seal. The Great 6 Words Mantra. Great Ming Dermic seal. One after another, dermic arts burst forth from Su Zimo's hands in an earth-shattering manner. The dermic arts that Su Zimo cultivated were the best dermic arts in the cultivation world, and were shockingly powerful to begin with. Now that he was at the conjoint body realm, the power of those dermic arts was already unleashed to its limits. None of the dermic arts were aimed at the 2 half-martial ancestors. Instead, they were aimed at Dongfang Xian, Shimen Tao, and the other conjoint body mighty figures. It was as though the apocalypse had arrived, and the heavens were collapsing. The entire hall was on the verge of collapse. F*CK, Araki Takashi is crazy. Shimen Tao was shocked and lost his composure for a moment, cursing. He had not expected that Araki Takashi would ignore the two half-martial ancestors and attack them instead. Chapter 1383. How is that possible? The two half-martial ancestors were shocked when they saw that. Even if Suzumo's body could defend against their dermic weapons, they would not be as shocked as they were right now. However, this scene had completely exceeded their understanding. Normally speaking, ordinary cultivators could only release a single dermic art at a time. Some of the stronger paragons could release 2 or 3 dermic arts instantly. For some of the peerless monster incarnates, they might be able to release 5 or 6 dermic arts. This was not just a matter of whether one's essence spirit was strong enough. Instead, there would definitely be a break after releasing a dermic art. The logic was similar to how one would have to retract their fist before punching again if they wanted to punch a second time. What was Suzumo doing, releasing more than 30 top-tier dermic arts in a single breath? Even though the two half-martial ancestors had lived for more than 10,000 years, they had never seen something as such in the cultivation world. If the 30-odd dermic arts were not targeted at Dongfang Xian, Shimen Tao and the others, but were released towards them, they would not have had a good time even though they might not have been able to injure them. Actually, it was normal for the two half-martial ancestors to not know about this. Apart from the fact that the black-haired essence spirit was incomparably pure, because it was condensed from the essence of the immortal Buddhist and fiend sects, there was an even more important reason why Suzumo could do that. It was the creation Qinglian. The creation Qinglian was an utmost treasure of the universe. Apart from its incomparably powerful strength, it also had many other mysterious aspects. Right now, the creation lotus platform coiled in Suzumo's consciousness and spun slowly beneath the black-haired essence spirit. The lotus petals shone with a divine glow, and the 63 lotus holes spewed out rays of light, providing endless power to the black-haired essence spirit. That was the reason why Suzumo was able to release such a ferocious dermic art attack instantly. Actually, back when the creation lotus platform was revived beneath Gu sect, it had already developed such an ability. But now, the creation lotus platform had already transformed into grade 7 and released that power to its limits. The moment it attacked, it was earth-shattering. Araki Takashi, you're courting death. Don't blame us. The old woman said eerily. Ju Ming, don't hold back. Just kill him. Before she finished speaking, the old woman held a pair of silver bracelets in her hands and threw them forward. The silver rings turned into 2 streaks of cold light, instantly arriving in front of Suzumo. At the same time, Ju Ming Elder struck out with his long sword. The sword trembled. In the air, it seemed to have turned into a coiling venomous snake, emitting a cold aura. It bared its venomous fangs and bit at Suzumo. 2 magical artifacts arrived together. This time, the two half-martial ancestors didn't hold back at all. Araki Takashi, who doesn't know how to boast. I'd like to see how much power you have left. The old woman sneered. Just now, Suzumo had blocked the old woman's attack, but he said that he had only used 50% of his strength. How could the old woman believe him? All right, I'll let you witness the capabilities of Araki Takashi. Suzumo's eyes shone brightly and his glabella shone. A green lotus platform flew out with a myriad of green lights that were bedazzling as it collided fiercely against the silver rings and sword. Clang! Clang! The sound of metal clashing echoed and sparks flew everywhere. The silver rings revealed their true forms, and so did the Ju Ming sword. There was a brief pause. Suddenly, the 3 weapons exploded and turned into streaks of light that were sent flying. Needless to say, the grade 7 creation lotus platform was an utmost treasure of the universe. As for the dermic weapons of the 2 half-martial ancestors, their powers were far greater than supreme dermic weapons as well. The power released when the 3 weapons collided was way too terrifying. If not for the creation lotus platform, even Khanate Mighty Figure's dermic weapons would have been smashed into smithereens. Bang! 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 Right then, the 30-odd top-tier dermic arts that Suzumo released just now had already descended and collided against the attacks of Dongfang Xian, Shimen Tao and the others. There was a deafening bang. Some conjoint body mighty figures could survive against relatively weak dermic arts, such as the Fiend's Suppression Seal, Demon Subduing Seal, and Immortal Trap Seal, and only collapsed to the ground with severe injuries. However, some conjoint body mighty figures were shattered on the spot against dermic arts, such as the Great Meru Seal and Great Vajrawheel Seal. Some conjoint body mighty figures might be struck by 2 or even 3 dermic arts. They would explode on the spot and turn into a blood mist without a corpse. Their essence spirit was destroyed. The outcome of this battle was decided in the blink of an eye. Although it was short, it was extremely shocking. Corpses were strewn all over the battlefield and blood dripped in an extremely tragic manner. Kitsune's mouth was agape and her beautiful eyes were widened. She had already forgotten to breathe. More than half of the remaining 20 conjoint body mighty figures were killed by Suzemo in a single attack. There were only 4 or 5 people left, including Dongfang Xian and Shimen Tao. Among them, there were 2 almighties who did not seem to be able to survive. Their life auras were rapidly fading away. If not for the fact that the 2 patriarchs possessed some life-saving talismans and methods, they would have died on the spot just now. The 2 patriarchs trembled and looked at Suzemo with fear in their eyes. Araki Takashi, when she saw that, the old woman's eyes widened and she grit her teeth in hatred. Although there were still conjoint body mighty figures in the Shimen family, the losses today were way too great. The lifespan of a mighty figure was only 20,000 years. Even with 20,000 years of accumulation, Araki Takashi had killed that many. The old woman was murderous. When she saw that her attack had missed, she did not give Suzemo any chance to catch his breath, and attacked once more. She conjured strange hand seals with both hands, and a shuddering power coiled in her palms. She waved her withered palms forward, and a cold light flashed past. It was silent like a cold moon, and emitted a bone-chilling aura. Buzz! Buzz! Wherever the cold moon passed, tiny cracks would appear in the void. Even the void could not withstand the power of the cold moon. Suzemo's pupils constricted slightly. The power of the cold moon seemed to have surpassed the scope of dermic powers. Suzemo's hair stood on end. Could it be? Suzemo's heart skipped a beat. Right then, Elder Ju Ming channeled his spirit consciousness wildly and conjured a sword art. Tapping gently towards Suzemo, a cold light burst forth from Elder Ju Ming's fingertip. It was neither fast nor slow. However, that cold light emitted an extremely dangerous aura. Araki Takashi, you have to pay the price for your arrogance and ignorance, Elder Ju Ming said coldly. Although half-martial ancestors have yet to enter the Mahayana realm, they can kill conjoint body mighty figures with ease. That's because half-martial ancestors have already comprehended a trace of divine powers. Suzemo was enlightened, and no longer had any doubts. There was a saying that had been passed down since the ancient era. Spirit energy was inferior to dermic powers, and dermic powers were inferior to divine powers. Just now, Suzemo sensed that the power released by the old woman and Elder Ju Ming seemed to have surpassed the scope of dermic powers. There was only a single possibility: divine powers. Although it was only a trace of divine powers, it was stronger and more terrifying than any dermic art. Chapter 1384. Although it was only a trace of the power of divine powers, it was enough to create an insurmountable gap between a half-martial ancestor and a conjoint body mighty figure. Although it was only a trace of the power of divine powers, the void in the hall could no longer withstand it, and even created slight cracks. Araki Takashi, let's see what else you have up your sleeves, the old woman shrieked with a ruthless expression. At that moment, Araki Takashi had just released more than 30 top-tier dermic arts, and it would be difficult for him to release a second time within a short period of time. As for the Creation Lotus platform, it was sent flying and embedded into the wall of the hall because of the collision just now. There was no way it could rush over to save him. Against the attacks of 2 half-martial ancestors and the power of divine powers that filled the air, Suzemo did not seem to have any methods to defend against them. The old woman and the suicide elder were waiting for Suzemo to die. However, the 2 of them looked at Suzemo and suddenly felt uneasy. Suzemo was way too calm. It did not seem like the despair of surrendering despite knowing that he was going to die. It was as though Suzemo still had something to rely on. How is that possible? The two of them denied it immediately. Even if Araki Takashi had any other trump cards, how could he defend against the power of divine powers? The two half-martial ancestors refused to believe it. Right then, Suzimo took a deep breath of air, and the blood chi in his body surged, pushing his bloodline to its limits instantly. Rumble! The sound of tsunami blood was deafening. He really doesn't know what's good for him if he thinks that he can defend against the power of divine powers with just tsunami blood. The old woman sneered and was relieved. Right then, the suicide elder's expression changed as he exclaimed, "Something's not right." The old woman noticed something amiss as well, and could not help but widen her eyes. Through their senses, Suzimo's power of blood chi was still rising after channeling tsunami blood without any signs of stopping. Could it be? The hearts of the two half-martial ancestors skipped a beat. Immediately after, they saw an incomparably shocking scene. A crystalline jade green lotus appeared behind Suzimo and surged into the skies, as though it was about to burst through the entire hall. It shone brightly and shone with 1,000 streaks of auspicious colors. Divine light filled the air as it flickered with life. This. The old woman's lips quivered and she could not continue. Bloodline phenomenon. The life-severing elder uttered these words with great difficulty. Above the tide of blood was the bloodline phenomenon. Since ancient times, there were extremely few cultivators who could cultivate a bloodline phenomenon in every generation, and they were all top monster incarnates of their respective sects and daos. Throughout history, no one had ever ranked the bloodline phenomenon ranking. This was because there were simply too few cultivators who could cultivate the bloodline phenomenon. Those who could cultivate it were practically invincible in the same realm. Who would care about ranking? However, there were strong and weak bloodline phenomena as well. For example, the bloodline phenomenon produced by the true bodies of dragons that cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness was extremely terrifying. The butterfly shadow that was condensed at the end was even stronger, and had yet to meet a match for it. As for Suzimo's bloodline phenomenon, it was extraordinary as well. It was a grade 7 creation Qinglian. After advancing to the conjoint body realm this time round, the Qinglian's true body transformed and expelled all the impurities in her body, turning her body and bloodline extremely pure. It was only logical that she could condense a bloodline phenomenon. The two half-martial ancestors glared at Suzimo. In a daze, Suzimo's figure seemed to have vanished. In front of them, there was only a creation Qinglian that connected the heavens and earth, swaying and emitting an extremely terrifying power. At that moment, the power of their two divine powers descended and collided violently against the creation Qinglian. Boom! There was a deafening sound. The entire space seemed to have frozen. Kitsune felt a piercing pain in her ears and could no longer hear anything. Before long, her 5 senses disappeared. It was only because the water in the divine spring surged and the stone emitted a strange power that she gradually regained her senses and snapped back to her senses. Rumble! The palace was on the verge of collapse. Countless gravel rolled down and dust filled the air. Pitch-black cracks appeared in the void at the point of collision, emitting a cold aura, as though they could devour everything. The power shattered the void. They were evenly matched. Suzimo's bloodline phenomenon defended against the power of two divine powers. Of course, that was only the power of a half-martial ancestor's divine power. It was only a trace, and was negligible against true divine powers. Dongfang Xian and Shimen Tao hid in a corner, and gradually came to their senses when they saw that. Just now, the creation Qinglian that they saw outside the hall was not a treasure. It was the mighty figure Araki Takashi. In midair, Suzimo's figure reappeared, and he took a few steps back. The two half-martial ancestors retreated continuously as well. Both of them were pale. On the surface, it seemed like they were evenly matched in this head-on clash. However, the old woman and the suicide elder were clearly at a disadvantage. The old woman was close to 20,000 years old. Even if she was a half-martial ancestor and could live past 20,000 years, she would not be able to live for much longer. Her blood chi was already deteriorating. The suicide elder was relatively young. However, No matter how young the two half-martial ancestors were, they could not compare to Su Zimo. Their physiques and bloodlines were worlds apart compared to Su Zimo. The two half-martial ancestors suffered a slight loss in that clash. Of course, that slight loss did not affect the half-martial ancestors at all. Araki Takashi, why you? The old woman glared at Su Zimo and wanted to say something more, but she could not. Su Zimo had once said that he only used 50% of his strength. That was not an exaggeration at all. The two half-martial ancestors exchanged glances and could see deep fear in each other's eyes. There was also a hint of fear mixed within that fear. Araki Takashi had just entered the conjoint body realm. Even so, Araki Takashi's combat strength was comparable to a half-martial ancestor. The two half-martial ancestors were indignant. However, the two of them knew that with Araki Takashi around, it would be difficult for them to fight for the primordial divine spring today. The only thing they could do now was to leave as soon as possible and rush back to their clans, so that the other half-martial ancestors of their clans could come out and kill Araki Takashi. Ha 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 ha. Right then, a loud laughter sounded from outside the hall. I heard that Araki Takashi is the #1 monster incarnate of history. Now that I've met you today, I know that the rumors are true. A middle-aged man strode in with an extraordinary aura. He looked at Su Zimo and Madare and cupped his fists. I am Nangongli, the family master of the Nangong family. Greetings, fellow Taoist Araki Takashi. Behind Nangongli stood more than 10 conjoint body mighty figures. Nangong Ling was among them as well. The Nangong family had arrived as well. Su Zimo nodded slightly and asked indifferently, Nangong family, are you here to fight for the primordial divine spring as well? Nangongli, you're only here now because you want to reap the benefits. You've truly schemed well, Dongfang Xian said hatefully. Nangongli smiled gently and ignored Dongfang Xian. He merely said to Su Zimo, fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, you've misunderstood. My Nangong family will definitely not be enemies with you and the Kitami clan. Chapter 1385. Right then another group of cultivators walked in from outside the hall. Some of them were members of the Kitami clan, including Baiming Ao. Little brother? Kitsune frowned slightly. Didn't I tell you guys to leave as soon as possible? Why are you guys back? Baiming Ao explained hurriedly when he saw that Kitsune was a little angry. We wanted to leave initially, but we were ambushed by some cultivators from the Shiman family and Dongfang family before we could get far. Thankfully, the experts of the Nangong family arrived and saved us. The Kitami clan's leader nodded as well. If not for that, the Kitami clan would have been annihilated. Sigh. Kitsune was secretly shocked when she heard that. Who would have thought that after the Dongfang and Shiman aristocratic families learned of the Baiming clan's secret, they didn't hesitate at all and directly exterminated the Baiming clan. Thank you, seniors of the Nangong family. Kitsune bowed deeply to Nangong Li and the others. She knew in her heart that the Nangong family was only willing to help because of her master. Even so, this was still a great favor. Well said, well said. Nangong Li smiled gently and said, Lass, get up. There's no need to be so polite. Nangong Ling dodged hurriedly when he saw Kitsune bowing towards him. Although his cultivation was higher than Kitsune's, he could not accept Kitsune's bow due to his seniority. Su Zimo's expression eased slightly as well. Nangong Li, as the leader of the Nangong family, how could you help the remnants of the Baiming family? Does the Grand Elder of the Nangong family know about this? Elder Zhu Ming asked slowly. Of course I know about it. Right then, an old man walked in slowly with a dragon-headed walking stick. It was the half-martial ancestor expert of the Nangong family, Elder Lan Tian. Lan Tian. The old woman's expression was ruthless as she scolded. What do you mean? Araki Takashi has already revealed all his trump cards. As long as the three of us work together, we can suppress him. When the time comes, our three great families can share the primordial divine spring equally. Why not? Elder Lan Tian shook his head and sighed. Zhu Ming, Silver Hoop, stop. Stop? The old woman shrieked. This Araki Takashi brat. How many people has he killed from our two great families? Today 30 conjoint body mighty figures died in his hands. You want us to stop? Since Araki Takashi has chosen to wage war against our two great families, don't even think about leaving the southern mountain range alive." The Juming elder looked at the old woman coldly and said, "Let's go." The two of them had already made up their minds. They would leave this place and rush back to their clans at the first possible moment to invite the other half-martial ancestor experts from their clans. According to their estimations, 5 quasi-ancestors would be sufficient to surround and kill Araki Takashi. "Who allowed you guys to leave?" Right then Suzumo suddenly said. Although his tone was calm, it was filled with cold killing intent. The old woman and the Juming elder paused in their tracks and were stunned. Immediately, a mocking look flashed through the eyes of the two half-martial ancestors. "Fufu." The Juming elder could not help but laugh and shake his head. "Why? You want to stop us? I admit that you, Araki Takashi, have the strength to fight against us right after advancing to the conjoint body realm. However, you're dreaming if you want to stop us." This time round, even Elder Lantian agreed with the Juming elder. In his opinion, Suzumo and the two half-martial ancestors were evenly matched in combat strength, and neither of them could do anything to the other. If the two half-martial ancestors wanted to leave, Suzumo would not be able to stop them. However, Elder Lantian had a special status and could not easily start a war with the half-martial ancestors of the Dongfang and Shimen aristocratic families. Otherwise, the situation would escalate, and there was a high chance that a war between the aristocratic families would break out. The consequences would be unimaginable. "You guys can leave if you want," Suzumo said indifferently. "However, the two of you have to swear a solemn oath in front of me that you will not take revenge on the Kitami clan in the future. If you violate that oath, you will be destroyed by the heavens and earth." Haha. The Juming elder was so angry that he laughed instead. "You actually want us to swear an oath for you? Araki Takashi brat, who do you think you are?" The old woman could not help but curse as well. "You weren't even born when we became famous. Are you worthy of us swearing an oath?" The two half-martial ancestors had lived for so long and had never received such treatment. In their opinion, Suzumo's words were an insult to them. The two of them did not realize that Suzumo was truly giving them a way out and a choice. "Since you guys aren't willing to swear an oath, don't leave." Suzumo moved and charged towards the Juming elder and the old woman. "Let's go." The Juming elder and the old woman did not want to be entangled with Suzumo. The two of them shouted softly and turned to speed out of the hall. All of a sudden, a shuddering killing intent descended, and the temperature in the hall plummeted. Even the two half-martial ancestors felt as though a great calamity was imminent. The Juming elder and the old woman sped while looking behind them. The moment they did, they saw an incomparably shocking scene. Chi! 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 Suzumo conjured a sword art with both hands, and a series of bedazzling sword chi burst forth from his body. They were densely packed and numbered in the tens of thousands. The two half-martial ancestors were shocked, and their pupils constricted violently. Heaven-slaying sword chi. Everywhere they looked was filled with heaven-slaying sword chi. Although the heaven-slaying sword chi was extremely powerful, it could not injure a half-martial ancestor who had comprehended a trace of divine powers. However, the heaven-slaying sword chi that Suzumo released was not just 1 or 2 or 1,000. There were tens of thousands of them. The sheer amount of heaven-slaying sword chi caused the world to tremble and almost sliced the void into pieces, cutting off the two half-martial ancestors' paths of retreat. The Juming elder and the old woman felt a piercing pain in their eyes, and tears flowed uncontrollably. Even Elder Lantian, who was outside the battlefield, was shocked and retreated instinctively, afraid that he would be implicated, let alone them. The tens of thousands of heaven-slaying sword chi released a destructive might that could destroy the world. Clang! 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 The old woman and the Juming elder were still fighting with all their might. They controlled their destiny-dermic weapons and released countless talismans as trump cards to defend against the incoming sword chi. However, there were simply too many sword chi, and it almost formed a sea of swords that stirred up raging waves that devoured the two half-martial ancestors. Poof! 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 A blood mist spewed out. At that moment, the two patriarchs, Dongfang Xian and Shiman Tao, were curled up in a corner and were completely dumbfounded. Their bodies trembled slightly, and they no longer had the bearing of the patriarchs of aristocratic families. The two patriarchs finally felt how terrifying Araki Takashi was. This fear would accompany them for the rest of their lives like a nightmare that could not be erased. Before long, thud, thud, two bloodied figures fell to the ground from midair. Their auras were weak and their bodies were lacerated with countless wounds by the heaven-slaying sword chi. Their flesh was rotten, and they were unrecognizable. Half-martial ancestor experts were indeed powerful and had exuberant vitality. Despite being severely injured against the attacks of the tens of thousands of heaven-slaying sword chi, they did not die immediately and were still hanging on. Of course, the consciousness of the two half-martial ancestors was already shattered and penetrated by the sword chi. Their essence spirits were also injured by the sword chi and could not survive. Chapter 1386. Araki Takashi Yu. Elder Destiny's aura was weak and blood gushed from his mouth continuously. He could not even continue speaking. His organs had already been penetrated by the heaven-slaying sword chi. No matter how vigorous a conjoint body mighty figure's life force was, he would not be able to recover from such severe injuries, and his life force was draining rapidly. The old woman lay on the ground and tried her best to turn around. She glared fiercely at Suzumo with a pair of dead fish eyes. Her essence spirit was destroyed, and she died with everlasting grievances. Not long after, Elder Ju-Ming also died. Both half-martial ancestors were dead. They had not expected Suzumo to have a trump card. Furthermore, this trump card could kill them the moment it was released. It had to be said that the heaven-slaying sword art was indeed one of the three ancient sword arts with shocking might. Up till this point of his cultivation, the heaven-slaying sword art was almost always successful. Back then, the heaven-slaying sword chi was only neutralized by the Hatred Sutra, when he was fighting against Tao Lord Hatred. Most of the time, almost no one of the same cultivation realm could defend against the sharpness of the heaven-slaying sword chi. Of course, the heaven-slaying sword chi was not invincible either. At the very least, Sword Sect had the earth-slaying sword art that was not weaker than the heaven-slaying sword art. If a conjoint body mighty figure who cultivated the earth-slaying sword art were to appear, they would be able to fight against Suzumo. Furthermore, legend has it that there was an even stronger human-slaying sword art above heaven-slaying and earth-slaying. Furthermore, Suzumo knew of at least two monster incarnates who could defend against his attack this time round. One of them was Shura, and the other was Monk Daming. While Suzumo's thoughts were running wild, the cultivators in the hall were still in a state of shock just now, and could not recover from it for a long time. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, you're truly. A long time later, Elder Lan Tian smiled bitterly and hesitated. To think that even he had misjudged. At the same time he felt relieved. To be honest, there were two reasons why he didn't join forces with the Dongfang and Shiman families. One of them was worried about Suzumo's true body of dragons. Another reason was Suzumo's potential. However, he never imagined that the current Suzumo was enough to make him feel fear. He could imagine that if he'd chosen to join forces with the two clans, then the corpses of quasi-ancestors lying on the ground wouldn't just be two. It would be three. A half-martial ancestor has been killed. I'm afraid that this matter will be very difficult to resolve. Elder Lan Tian sighed softly. With more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures dead, and two half-martial ancestors dead, the feud between Suzumo and the two aristocratic families was completely formed. What is it? Suzumo raised his eyebrows and asked. The great ancestors of the two aristocratic families were alarmed. Right now he was at the conjoint body realm. Even if he could fight against a half-martial ancestor with Qinglian's true body, he would still die without a doubt against a Mahayana patriarch without any chance of winning. I don't think that's the case. Elder Lan Tian was unsure as well. Under normal circumstances, the patriarch won't appear unless the clan is facing a calamity of destruction. Even though that was the case, today's battle had dealt a huge blow to the two aristocratic families. There was a high chance that the patriarch would be alarmed. Suzumo had a calm expression. he would deal with whatever came his way. If the patriarch were to descend, he would just escape at most. Now that he was at the conjoint body realm, and had completely grown, it would be extremely difficult for even the patriarch to kill him. Su Zimo turned around slowly, and his gaze landed on Dongfang Xian and Shimen Tao. Of the more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures, only the 2 of them were left. Initially there were still 2 or 3 of them alive. However, just now, they were swept into the storm of the heaven-slaying sword qi, and were minced to death. Su Zimo looked over, and the hearts of the 2 patriarchs skipped a beat with despair. The 2 of them were in high spirits before they led the mighty figures on the expedition. Who would have thought that they would encounter such a devastating blow? Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, please show mercy, Dongfang Xian begged with a miserable expression. If nothing went wrong, he still had more than 10,000 years of lifespan. He did not want to die. Even if he had to throw away his dignity, he had to give it a try. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, I'll definitely not be your enemy after I return. Shimen Tao swore hurriedly as well. Seeing this scene, everyone's hearts were filled with emotions. To think that the patriarchs of the 2 aristocratic families would end up kneeling before Araki Takashi and wagging their tails pitifully. The scene of 2 half-martial ancestors being killed was way too shocking. The 2 patriarchs were scared out of their wits. You guys can leave. Su Zimo had a mocking expression. After you head back, tell the half-martial ancestors of your clans not to provoke me. Today's matter ends here. Yes, yes, yes. The 2 patriarchs nodded repeatedly. We definitely wouldn't dare. That was the truth. Even if they wanted to take revenge, they would have to consider it carefully. Alternatively, they might as well ask their patriarch to kill Araki Takashi. As though he could read the thoughts of the 2 patriarchs, Su Zimo continued. If you want to ask your patriarch to come, you have to consider carefully. If I, Araki Takashi, don't die, your 2 aristocratic families will never have a day of peace in the future. That was a blatant threat. However, the 2 patriarchs were scared out of their wits and shook their heads hurriedly. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, you must be joking. We wouldn't dare. Get lost, Su Zimo said indifferently. When the 2 patriarchs heard that, they did not dare to linger any longer and turned to leave without turning back, vanishing in the blink of an eye. The reason why Su Zimo let the 2 of them off was because he needed them to send a message back. Today's matter was over, and he would not cause trouble for the 2 aristocratic families because of this. However, if the 2 aristocratic families were still unwilling to let it go, he would have nothing to worry about. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, you're amazing. Elder Lan Tian nodded slightly and exclaimed in admiration. Why is the Nangong clan here today? Su Zimo turned around and asked. No matter what, the Nangong clan did not join forces with the 2 aristocratic families, and Nangong Ling was the reason why Su Zimo had a good impression of the Nangong clan. We're also here for the primordial divine spring, Elder Lan Tian said. However, fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, please don't misunderstand. I just want to ask how you're going to deal with this divine spring. This is a treasure of the Baiming family. I won't take it for myself. Su Zimo said indifferently. Elder Lan Tian said. However, if we rely on the current Kitami clan, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to protect this divine spring. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, you can't guard this place forever. Su Zimo remained silent. Elder Lan Tian said. I have a suggestion. Our Nangong clan will help the Kitami clan protect this divine spring. During this period of time, our Nangong clan will naturally help the Kitami clan cultivate with all our might. If the Kitami clan is in danger, our Nangong clan will also help with all our might. As for the condition, our Nangong clan would like to share the divine spring as well. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, and everyone from the Kitami clan, what do you think? Su Zimo said. This is a matter for the Kitami clan. I won't interfere. Actually, this was the best choice for the Kitami clan. Only by joining forces with the Nangong clan could the Kitami clan protect the primordial divine spring. Otherwise, any sect could easily destroy the Kitami clan, let alone the Dongfang and Shimen aristocratic families. Chapter 1387. The leader of the Kitami clan looked at the Kitsune siblings. I'm already old. From now on, the Kitami clan can only rely on the two of you. You can make the decision on this matter. I won't stay in the clan from now on either. Kitsune shook her head gently. My Dao doesn't lie in this. Little brother, you make the decision. Suzimo was heartened when he heard that. Kitsune cultivated the Wu Dao. Her world was the boundless world of cultivators that contained countless secrets and opportunities, not this tiny Baiming town. If Kitsune stayed in Baiming town to develop her clan, her attainments in the Wu Dao would be limited no matter how talented she was. Sister, I'm still young. Stay and help me. Baiming Ao could not help but say reluctantly. He was only 15 years old after all. It was indeed a little cruel for him to bear the heavy burden of revitalizing his clan. A hint of hesitation flashed through Kitsune's eyes as well. However, she soon made up her mind to leave Baiming town and explore the cultivation world. Today the Baiming clan was almost annihilated. The reason why they were able to resolve this crisis was because of their master's immense combat strength. No matter how large the clan was or how many clansmen they had, it was inevitable that they would be wiped out without a top expert. Therefore, rather than staying in Baiming town, Kitsune might as well head out to train and grow rapidly. If she could cultivate to the conjoint body or Mahayana realm, the Baiming family would continue to exist as long as she was alive without any danger. The siblings exchanged glances and understood each other's intentions without saying anything. Kitsune said gently, Little brother, you've already grown up. No matter what decision you make, I'll support you. Alright. Baiming Ao grit his teeth. Since that's the case, I've decided to join forces with the Nangong family. We'll write off our past grudges and share the divine spring. Nangong Ling and the others were delighted and heaved a sigh of relief. This was undoubtedly the best outcome for the two aristocratic families. Even Elder Lan Tian nodded slightly as he looked at Baiming Ao with admiration. Before this, the three aristocratic families had bullied and humiliated the Baiming family. They had robbed the Baiming family of their cultivation methods, secret skills, treasures, and resources. This was a grudge that had lasted for many years. At such a young age, Baiming Ao was able to let go of these grudges for the sake of his family. With such a broad vision, he already had the bearing of a patriarch. He's also a good seedling. Elder Lan Tian muttered in his heart. Everyone was shocked by Kitsune's talent, but Baiming Ao was not weak either. After all, to be able to form a Jin Dan phenomenon at the age of 15, with some unorthodox cultivation techniques and scarce cultivation resources, that was already something that surpassed most paragons. Suzimo looked at Elder Lan Tian and said calmly, Taoist Lan Tian, since the Kitami clan is willing to let go of past grievances and share the divine spring with the Nangong family, the Nangong family should at least reciprocate. The term fellow Taoist was mostly used when someone was of the same cultivation realm or status. However, Suzimo was only at the conjoint body realm, while Elder Lan Tian was a half-martial ancestor. However, Elder Lan Tian did not resist at all when he heard the term fellow Taoist. Just now, Araki Takashi had just killed two half-martial ancestors. What was wrong with calling him a fellow Taoist? Elder Lan Tian was pondering over an idea in his mind. When he heard this, he immediately made a decision. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Baiming Ao. He chuckled and said, I still lack a disciple. If you don't mind, this old man can teach you something. A half-martial ancestor taking in a disciple. That was a huge matter. Even the cultivators of the Nangong family revealed looks of envy, let alone the Kitami clan. Kitsune was delighted as well. With that identity, no one would dare to lay their hands on Baiming Ao anymore. Anyone who dared to provoke the disciple of a half-martial ancestor would have to suffer the wrath of the latter. Araki Takashi was way too influential. Many cultivators were secretly alarmed. Actually, even without Suzimo's reminder, Elder Lan Tian was tempted to take him in as a disciple. Little brother, why aren't you greeting master? Kitsune reminded. Baiming Ao hurriedly ran to Elder Lan Tian and knelt down respectfully to acknowledge him as his master. Well said, well said. Elder Lan Tian helped Bai Ming Ao up with a smile. Nangongli, the two of you should interact more in the future. Elder Lan Tian said to Nangongli. Nangongli smiled bitterly internally. As the head of the Nangong family, and a conjoint body mighty figure, he had lived for almost 10,000 years. However, because of a single sentence from Elder Lan Tian, his seniority was on par with a 15-year-old child like Bai Ming Ao. Brother, Bai Ming. Nangongli took the initiative to cup his fists towards Bai Ming Ao and coughed gently, addressing a 15-year-old child as his brother. This scene was really a little strange. Fellow Taoist Araki Takeshi, what are your plans from now on, fellow Taoist? Elder Lan Tian turned to look at Su Zimo and asked. Before long, news of what happened today would spread throughout the cultivation world, and Araki Takeshi's every move in the cultivation world would attract countless gazes. I might stay in the South region for a period of time. Su Zimo thought of something else, and did not say it explicitly, replying vaguely. Elder Lan Tian said, if fellow Taoist Araki Takeshi encounters any difficulties, you can send a message to the Nangong family at any time. If it's within our means, the Nangong family will definitely help you with all our might. Actually, that was just a formality. If Su Zimo were to go to war with the Dongfang and Shiman aristocratic families, the Nangong family would definitely not interfere. If there's nothing else, everyone can disperse first. Su Zimo said, from now on, this is an important place guarded by the Nangong and Bai Ming aristocratic families. Don't step in casually from now on. I'll be here for a couple of days. If there's anything, you can inform me outside. That was an order for them to leave. Elder Lan Tian, and the others left sensibly as well. Sister, Bai Ming Ao called out softly and wanted to walk over. However, Kitsune shook her head. Little brother, leave with your clansmen first. Don't come down without my orders. Bai Ming Ao was stunned for a moment. Although he was filled with doubts, he still chose to listen to Kitsune, and left the hall with his clansmen. Before long, Su Zimo and Kitsune were the only ones left in the hall. There were also many corpses and flesh on the ground. Master, is there anything? Kitsune asked softly. Su Zimo nodded and said in a low voice, there is indeed something. When she saw Su Zimo asking them to leave, she vaguely guessed that her master seemed to be hiding something, and did not want others to know. Not to mention the Nangong family, even the other clansmen of the Kitami clan, had to be kept a secret. What was it? At this moment, a crashing sound was heard. The divine spring at the side rumbled, and a gigantic stone flew out of the golden pool, rolling around on the ground. The patterns on the surface of the gigantic stone surged with two extreme auras, forming a devouring power that seemed to be sucking in the flesh and blood of this place. Chapter 1388. Kitsune was shocked. Just now that Su Zimo was fighting many mighty figures, she could sense the existence of this stone while hiding in the primordial divine spring. But now, the stone actually jumped out and rolled around on the ground, catching her off guard. Is this a living thing? Kitsune could not help but ask when she saw that Su Zimo did not seem surprised. Yes. Su Zimo nodded and looked at the oval-shaped boulder. He said slowly, this is the true secret that your Kitami clan is guarding, not this primordial divine spring. Hearing this, Bai Ming Shue's mind was greatly shaken, and she was dumbfounded. She had not expected that the secret guarded by the Kitami clan was not a supreme treasure like the primordial divine spring, but a strange stone. She was smart enough to realize what was going on at the first moment. Her master did not tell her about this secret earlier, and waited for everyone to leave before telling her. It must be something important. Kitsune stared at the gigantic stone for a while, and frowned slightly. She could not help but ask, is this an egg? Su Zimo did not answer and asked instead, have you heard of the primordial taboo? I've heard of it. Kitsune said, I only found out about it because of the news of the battle in Heaven and Earth Valley. In the primordial era, there was an extremely terrifying and powerful living being known as the primordial taboo. The demon beast beside Master is the primordial taboo, right? Yes. Su Zimo nodded and said, the night spirit is one of the chi, one of the taboos. One of the taboos? Kitsune was stunned for a moment before asking. Could it be that the primordial taboo is not a race? Suzimo said. In the primordial era, there were 3 great taboos. The Qi was only one of them. The other 2 were the dragon phoenix and Kuanpeng. Kitsune was deep in thought. A moment later, her eyes lit up and she suddenly asked, Master, are you saying that this gigantic egg is nurturing a primordial taboo? If I'm not wrong, this should be a Kuanpeng egg. Suzimo said. Ah, Kitsune exclaimed. How powerful was the ancient taboo? Even the primordial 9 clans were extremely fearful of him. And they didn't even wait for the night spirit to grow before they mobilized their forces with the intention of joining forces to kill him. Kitsune had never thought that her ancestor was actually guarding such a shocking secret. Suzimo said. The reason why I didn't tell anyone about this is because the secret is too big. If news of the primordial divine spring were to spread, with the Nangong family's strength, they might be able to guard this divine spring. But if the news of the Kuanpeng egg spreads out, not to mention the Nangong family, even if the 3 aristocratic families work together, I'm afraid they won't be able to keep it. In fact, this secret was a disaster rather than a blessing for the Kitami clan. That was the reason why the ancestors of the Kitami clan were so careful. Suzimo said. Firstly, I asked the others to leave because I wanted to tell you about this. Secondly, this Kuanpeng egg is extremely intelligent. As you can see, it's devouring the flesh essence energy. In fact, it could even sense the danger outside and did not expose itself in advance. It only ran out when I asked the others to leave. Kitsune nodded. Although the Kuanpeng had yet to hatch, it had already displayed an intelligence that surpassed ordinary. How should we deal with this? Kitsune frowned slightly and asked. Suzimo shook his head as well. After pondering for a moment, Suzimo said, We'll see what happens after the Kuanpeng egg absorbs the flesh essence energy. That's the only way. Kitsune nodded. Right then, Kitsune's heart skipped a beat as she vaguely sensed an opportunity. Master, I might be about to break through, Kitsune said. Actually, after cultivating Wu Dao, he could attempt to break through after condensing the blood Qi Jin Dan. The reason why Suzimo wanted Kitsune to continue cultivating was because he wanted her to lay down a perfect foundation so that she could go further on the path of cultivation in the future. That was because no one knew Wu Dao better than him. Wu Dao's true body cultivated to the power of the dragon elephant. After breaking through, the essence spirit that he condensed even gave birth to a martial spirit fire that was extremely powerful. Break through here then. Suzimo nodded and pointed to the primordial divine spring. Kitsune had long reached the realm of breaking through. Now that she was watching a battle between mighty figures, she finally sensed the opportunity to break through to the essence spirit realm. Kitsune entered the golden pool and sat cross-legged, attempting to break through. Suzimo guarded the entrance of the hall. Not only did he protect Kitsune, he also had to protect the Kuanpeng egg from outsiders. Time gradually passed. In the blink of an eye, a day and night passed. Suddenly, Kitsune shuddered and her aura rose continuously, as though some sort of shackle had been broken. In fact, an extremely sharp glint appeared from her body. Suzimo's expression changed as he nodded slightly. Not bad, not bad. Kitsune had broken through, and was already at the martial spirit realm. In other words, she was at the nascent soul realm of the immortal Buddhist and fiend Das. Not only that, Bai Mingshue's martial spirit had evolved into a sharp longsword at first. Then it transformed into its original form. There were many types of martial spirits. Suzimo's martial spirit was derived from flames. As for Kitsune, she derived from swords. If nothing went wrong, Kitsune's comprehension of the sword Dao would definitely surpass everyone else in the future. With the help of such a martial spirit, the power of Kitsune's sword Dao would definitely be extremely terrifying. After another 2 hours, Kitsune's aura finally stabilized. Kitsune opened her eyes and sensed the changes in her body. She could not help but smile. Master, I succeeded. Yes, Suzimo nodded. Right then, the Kuanpeng egg at the side stopped as well. It had already devoured all the flesh on the ground. Even so, the Kuanpeng showed no signs of hatching. The flesh and blood in the hall were all conjoint body mighty figures and half-martial ancestor experts. To think that such a massive amount of flesh and blood essence could not hatch the Kuan Peng. The devouring power of the Kuan Peng was way too terrifying. Su Zimo was secretly shocked. Now it seemed like this taboo was truly troublesome. Even super sex might not be able to hatch this Kuan Peng, let alone him. Even if it hatched, given the appetite of this Kuan Peng, it could probably eat 1 or 2 super sex. It was indeed not a coincidence that the taboo race was rare. If there were a few more Kuan Pengs that consumed such a massive amount of resources, the entire Tianhuang mainland would probably dry up. Just as Su Zimo was pondering, the Kuan Peng egg hopped to his side and rubbed against his arm intimately. Kitsune walked out of the primordial divine spring. The Kuan Peng egg rolled to Kitsune's feet and circled around her. Although it did not hatch after devouring so much flesh and blood, the Kuan Peng egg was clearly extremely happy. Chapter 1389. Master, what should we do now? Kitsune was worried. Firstly, the devouring power of the Kuan Peng egg was way too great. Even super sex would find it difficult to hatch it, let alone Kitsune. Secondly, once the Kuan Peng egg was exposed, the Baiming family would face destruction. Su Zimo pondered in silence. There was no way he could bring the Kuan Peng egg with him. Firstly, he did not have that many treasures, resources and flesh essence to hatch the Kuan Peng egg. Secondly, he had other important matters to attend to, and could not possibly focus on the Kuan Peng egg. Suddenly, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he thought of a solution. In the extreme north of Tianhuang mainland, there was a sea that was frozen all year round, and was known as the North Sea. Within the North Sea, there was an extremely vast inner sea. It was one of the 9 forbidden grounds of Tianhuang mainland, the North Sea. That forbidden ground was the habitat of one of the primordial 9 races, the Kuan race. If he were to throw the Kuan Peng egg into the North Sea, the Kuan race would definitely do their best to hatch it. Furthermore, they would protect it with their lives. The Kuan Peng was to the Kuan race what the dragon phoenix was to dragons. The North Sea had existed since the primordial era, and there were countless treasures and cultivation resources buried within. Just the North Sea alone had countless living beings and experts. In Tianhuang mainland, there was a saying that there were 3 seas, 4 regions and 1 continent. It was just an ocean, but its surface area was far larger than the 4 regions and 1 continent. There were many different kinds of living beings living in it. In fact, there were even many powerful primordial living beings. The Kuan Peng would only truly return to its own world after returning to the North Sea. There, the Kuan Peng would definitely be able to hatch. Furthermore, with a massive entity like the Kuan race, there would be an endless supply of cultivation resources. There, the Kuan Peng would grow rapidly as well. As long as the Kuan race hid this secret well, there would not be any danger there. It could be said that the North Sea was a near-perfect place for the Kuan Peng. Of course, that was a risky idea. Taboos were not ordinary living beings after all. Now that the Kuan Peng egg was awakened by his bloodline, it was close to him. And because the Kitami clan was protecting him, he could feel Kitsune's bloodline. Therefore, this Kuan Peng egg was also very close to Kitsune. However, if it was thrown into the Northern Sea, its connection with Su Zimo and Kitsune would be completely severed. In that kind of environment, without them by its side after many years, when this Kuan Peng truly grew up, it would probably have no feelings for them. In the eyes of the Kuan race, humans were nothing more than ants. Moreover, this was in the eyes of the forbidden Kuan Peng. When this Kuan Peng grew up, what it would become was definitely an unknown variable. Su Zimo pondered for a while. Looking at the Kuan Peng egg in front of him, he said in a deep voice, "I can bring you to a place where you can grow quickly. However, dark north and I will not be by your side." The Kuan Peng egg immediately shook its body, as if it was very unwilling. "Go. Stay by my side. I can't protect you at all." Kitsune smiled and patted the Kuan Peng egg gently. The Kuan Peng egg was still unwilling. It just stayed by Su Zimo and Kitsune's side, rubbing against them. It was very clingy. After a while, the Kuan Peng egg seemed to have thought of something. It suddenly rolled in front of Su Zimo, and leaned forward, as if it was bowing to him. Su Zimo laughed, and shook his head slightly. He said, What are you doing? Are you acknowledging me as your master? He said that casually. To his surprise, the Kuenpung egg jumped up from the ground. It was as if Su Zimo had hit the nail on the head. How smart! Kitsune could not help but praise. This Kuenpung had not hatched yet. It was only an egg, but it already had such intelligence. Master, why don't you take it as your disciple? Kitsune also smiled. The ancient taboo is definitely more talented than me. It should be qualified to be your disciple. Taken a primordial taboo as a disciple? If news of this were to spread, it would definitely cause an uproar. What was a primordial taboo? Who would be qualified to be the master of a taboo? Furthermore, everyone would avoid a primordial taboo at all costs. Who would take the initiative to provoke it and be implicated? However, Su Zimo had no qualms about something as such. If the Kuenpung was included, the three primordial taboo were more or less related to him. Furthermore, taking in a Kuenpung as a disciple might not be a disaster. Master, just take him in. Kitsune was truly fond of the Kuenpung. It was rare for her to act like a girl and say coquettishly, "I'm the eldest disciple. It's great to have a junior brother or sister." Su Zimo did not reply. He looked at the Kuenpung egg not far away and said in a deep voice, "Taking someone as your master is no small matter. Are you serious?" The Kuenpung egg jumped on the spot hurriedly to express its seriousness. Kitsune covered her mouth and laughed. Su Zimo said, "Since that's the case, I'll take you in as my disciple. Kitsune is your senior sister. My name is Su Zimo, and my Taoist name is Araki Takeshi. Remember that." The Kuenpung egg looked rather excited and bowed repeatedly. "Master, he doesn't have a name yet." Kitsune reminded. Su Zimo pondered for a moment and said, "Since that's the case, I'll give you a name, Xiaoyao. I hope that you can be carefree and unrestrained in the future." Xiaoyao was not only the hope that Su Zimo placed on the Kuenpung, but also a manifestation of the Kuenpung's own ability. "Xiaoyao, Xiaoyao." Kitsune muttered softly and patted the Kuenpung egg. She said with a smile, "From now on, you have a name. You're called Xiaoyao." Hearing this name, the Kuenpung egg was also extremely excited. It jumped up and down and rubbed against Su Zimo. "Don't play this game with me." Su Zimo smiled and pushed the Kuenpung egg away. He said, "Since you've acknowledged me as your master, I have to send you to the Northern Sea." The Northern Sea was the best place for Xiaoyao to go. Before, Su Zimo was still a little hesitant. But now, since Xiaoyao had become his disciple, no matter what Xiaoyao would become in the future, he had to send Xiaoyao there. Only in the Northern Sea could Xiaoyao grow up safely. Hearing Su Zimo's words, the Kuenpung egg was a little disappointed. According to what his master said, if he went to the Northern Sea, he would have to leave his master and senior sister. When he woke up, the first thing he saw was Su Zimo and Kitsune. Because of the bloodline, he had an indescribable sense of closeness to the two of them. But now the three of them were forced to separate. "Master, the Northern Sea is in the extreme north of Tianhuang mainland, and is billions of miles away from here. When do you plan to move?" Kitsune asked. "I have other things to do and won't return to the north region for the time being." Su Zimo said, "The other me will bring Xiaorao to the Northern Sea." "The other me?" Kitsune froze for a moment and did not understand. Right then, someone walked in from outside the hall. That person wore a purple Taoist robe and had shoulder-length black hair. He had delicate features and looked exactly the same as Su Zimo. Chapter 1390. This is... Kitsune was dumbfounded as she looked back and forth between the purple-robed cultivator and Su Zimo with a shocked expression. Apart from the difference in his Dao robes, the purple-robed cultivator looked exactly the same as her master. However, Kitsune could vaguely sense that there was something different about the purple-robed cultivator. It was an indescribable feeling. "Everyone thinks that I have two true bodies. That's not the case." Su Zimo pointed at the purple-robed cultivator who walked in and said indifferently, "This is my third true body." It was Su Zimo's Wu Dao's true body. Actually, Su Zimo had already summoned Wu Dao's true body over a year ago. At that time, the essence spirit of Qinglian's true body was injured. Seeing that the aristocratic family competition was about to begin, Su Zimo was worried that something unexpected would happen and provoke some top experts. The true bodies of the dragons were cultivating in seclusion in the South Sea, and it was not appropriate to alarm them. The only one who could help was Wu Dao's true body. Therefore, even if Qinglian's true body did not receive the nourishment of the primordial divine spring and recovered from her injuries to enter the conjoint body realm, Su Zimo was not worried. As long as Wu Dao's true body rushed over, even if he could not defeat the experts of the two aristocratic families, he could summon that damaged teleportation formation and leave calmly with Qinglian's true body and Kitsune. That was Su Zimo's original plan. However, later on, the secret of the Beiming aristocratic family was exposed and Qinglian's true body obtained a huge opportunity as well. She was reborn and killed 2 half-martial ancestors and more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures in one go. Wu Dao's true body sensed the situation here and did not appear. It was only at this moment that Wu Dao's true body appeared. Master, this is similar to your clone, right? Kitsune gradually understood. Su Zimo nodded and did not explain further. Kitsune looked at Wu Dao's main body and couldn't help but ask, Master, what's the cultivation of this clone of yours? Early Transcendence Realm, Su Zimo said. Wu Dao's original body had been cultivating for more than 100 years. This cultivation speed was already extremely terrifying. Wu Dao had refined hundreds of scriptures like a furnace. Over the years, he had refined all the secret arts and cultivation arts that his 2 true forms had obtained. His cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. Early Transcendence Realm, Kitsune murmured. It was normal for the clone's cultivation to be lower. But for some reason, Kitsune felt an indescribable pressure when facing her master's Wu Dao true body. Kitsune shook her head and didn't think too much about it. Little junior brother, why are you so quiet? Kitsune glanced sideways at the Kuan Pung egg at the side and chuckled, asking casually, Can't bear to leave me? Initially, the Kuan Pung egg was extremely excited. However, for some reason, it suddenly quietened down after Wu Dao's original body entered. The Kuan Pung egg did not move. If it was just now, the Kuan Pung egg would have jumped up and down to express its emotions. Wu Dao's original body's eyes were clear as he shifted his gaze to the Kuan Pung egg. He waved his hand and said, Come over, I'll take you away. The Kuan Pung egg did not advance. Instead, it moved back, as though it was dodging. What's wrong with you? Go over, Kitsune said with a smile, and pushed the Kuan Pung egg in the direction of Wu Dao's original body. This time, not only did she fail to move the Kuan Pung egg, but it also seemed to be frightened by something. With a whoosh, it hid behind Beiming Shui. This time round, even Su Zimo could tell that something was amiss. It was not that the Kuan Pung egg did not want to leave. The egg was afraid. To be precise, the Kuan Pung egg was afraid of Wu Dao's original body, and did not even dare to get close to him. This is Master's clone. What are you afraid of? Kitsune smiled and patted the Kuan Pung egg gently. The Kuan Pung egg still did not dare to advance. Kitsune could clearly sense that the gigantic egg of the Kuan Pung egg was trembling under her palm. How scared is it? Kitsune was stunned. It seemed like the Kuan Pung egg was afraid of Wu Dao's original body from the depths of its heart. However, how could that be? According to Master, this was only a clone of his master, and his cultivation realm was only at the Dharma characteristic realm. How could it scare the Kuan Pung of the 3 taboos to such an extent? Furthermore, the Kuan Pung egg was extremely intimate with Su Zimo's Qinglian's true body, and would circle around and rub against it from time to time. However, in front of Wu Dao's true body, the Kuan Pung egg was trembling in fear. Su Zimo lamented internally when he saw that. As expected of one of the 3 taboos, it has such a sharp sense of smell even before it's born. Wu Dao's true body had never attacked before. Almost no one knew of his existence either. Therefore, no one knew better than Su Zimo how terrifying Wu Dao's true body was. This was an anomaly that had jumped out of the 3 realms, and was not part of the 5 elements. Back when Wu Dao's true body was just born, even Patriarch Yuan Bei of the Mahayana realm could not see through the fate of Wu Dao's true body with his divine power, mind reading. It did not mean that the current Wu Dao's true body was stronger than Qinglian's true body. It was because the Kuan-Pung egg had yet to hatch, and did not have the five senses such as sight and hearing. It could only rely on its innate spirit perception to sense the outside world. In his perception, Qinglian's true body was a jade-green Qinglian that emitted a resplendent glow and was filled with boundless life force. Furthermore, he had once absorbed the bloodline of Qinglian's true body and naturally did not have any resistance towards Qinglian's true body. However, that was not the case for Wu Dao's true body. The martial Dao true body cultivates the physical body, using the true body as a great furnace to nurture the 100 scriptures in one furnace, fusing the myriad of laws into one body. The martial spirit fire doesn't stop, constantly tempering the physical body, refining the 100 scriptures. In the perception of the Kuan-Pung egg, Wu Dao's true body was a gigantic furnace that emitted a destructive aura, as though it could smelt everything in the world. Even he would not be able to escape this fate. Naturally, he was afraid and did not dare to approach. Xiao Yao, go with him. Su Zimo finally opened his mouth and said, "He is me and I am him. There is no difference between us, and he will not hurt you." Hearing this, the Kuan-Pung egg was slightly relieved. This huge egg moved slowly towards Wu Dao's true body. Its speed was extremely slow, and it could be seen that it was very unhappy. The Kuan-Pung egg walked and stopped, reluctant to part with him. Although he had yet to hatch, he could vaguely guess that after this farewell, he did not know when he would be able to meet his master and senior sister again. "It's okay. You have to grow up quickly, and we will meet again." Kitsune could vaguely feel the Kuan-Pung egg's thoughts and comforted him gently. This Kuan-Pung egg was not only her junior brother, but also the secret of the Baiming family that had been guarded for thousands of years. Kitsune naturally had some feelings for Xiao Yao. After a long time, the Kuan-Pung egg moved slowly in front of Wu Dao's true body. Without saying anything, Wu Dao's true body waved his sleeves and rolled up the huge Kuan-Pung egg. He turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from the main hall. Chapter 1391. After Wu Dao's true body left with Xiao Yao, Su Zimo and Kitsune were the only ones left in the hall. Without Xiao Yao, the hall fell silent for a moment. Kitsune lowered her head slightly with a faint sorrow in her eyes. After a moment she finally spoke. "Master, you're leaving, right?" "Yes." Su Zimo nodded and did not hide anything. "You've already cultivated to the nascent soul realm. It's time for you to go out and train yourself, and explore the cultivation world." Kitsune remained silent. She knew in her heart that her master could not be by her side forever to protect her, and protect her from all storms. However, she had a wish in her heart. Even if her cultivation did not improve at all, she hoped that her master could always be by her side to protect her. Kitsune took a deep breath of air, and composed herself quickly. She put away those thoughts in her heart and said, "All right, I'll go check out the cultivation world outside right now. Don't worry, master. I won't embarrass you." Before long, news of what happened today would spread throughout the entire cultivation world. At that time, all the cultivators in the world would know that Kitsune was Araki Takashi's eldest disciple. At that time, there might be dangers and challenges waiting for her. All of that would become the foundation for her to temper Wu Dao. "Where do you plan to go from now on, master?" Kitsune asked again. "I happen to be in the southern region, and plan to meet an old friend." The voice and appearance of a young monk flashed through Su Zimo's mind as he murmured, "It's been a long time since I've heard from him. I'm a little worried." "You have to raise your cultivation as soon as possible. There will be many calamities in the future of Tianhuang mainland. Without strength you can die easily, let alone protect your family." Su Zimo reminded again. His worries were not groundless. All the signs indicated that Tianhuang mainland was about to descend into chaos. A massive change was about to descend. There was a high chance that this change would engulf the entire Tianhuang mainland, and no sect, faction or race would be spared. South Sea, depths of the sea. There were massive living beings and races in the ocean that far surpassed the continents. The resources in the ocean were also extremely rich, and nurtured countless experts. There were 8 demon regions in Tianhuang mainland. Among them, The East, South, and North Seas occupied 3 of them. There were countless secrets hidden in the ocean. It was once rumored that the 3 seas contained the most ancient ruins, and they were also the ones that were the most well-preserved. The ocean was deep, and its deepest depths could even reach hundreds of thousands of meters. There were not many living beings at the deepest depths of the sea. That was because as the depth of the sea increased, the pressure around the sea increased as well. Without a conjoint body realm cultivation, there was no way one could survive in the deep sea. At that moment, there was a figure. This figure had shoulder-length crimson hair, and was like a flame. Even in the deep sea, it showed no signs of being extinguished. True Body's true form's body. Although his dragon true body was still in the Dharma characteristic realm, he could still survive in the deep sea with his physical body and bloodline. After receiving guidance from a mysterious expert, the true bodies of the dragons dove into the depths of the sea to cultivate the sea calming scroll. The true form of dragons could survive at the bottom of the sea. However, this did not mean that he could move freely at the bottom of the sea. Even with his body and bloodline, he could still feel the terrifying pressure at the bottom of the sea. Every movement consumed hundreds of times more strength than when he was on land. Under the resistance and pressure of the seawater, the speed of each strike would become extremely slow and difficult. In such an environment, the true bodies of the dragons gritted their teeth and continued to cultivate. After 3 years of cultivation, the dragon's true body's comprehension of the Saber Tao had deepened. He had finally comprehended the profound meaning of sea calming. Without seeing the ocean with one's own eyes, one would never truly comprehend the essence of the sea calming scroll. Without personally experiencing the raging waves of the ocean, one would never be able to experience the power of sea calming. For the past 3 years, the cultivation of the true bodies of the dragons were still at the Dharma characteristic realm and had not broken through. However, he had a new understanding of the Saber Tao. This day, the true bodies of the dragons cultivated at the bottom of the sea with their eyes closed, slashing and retracting their sabers repeatedly. All of a sudden, the true bodies of the dragons opened their eyes. In this deep and gloomy sea, 2 beams of divine light seemed to burst forth, illuminating this part of the sea. Under the illumination of the divine lights, the true bodies of the dragons could clearly see 3 faint figures charging towards him along the undercurrents at the bottom of the sea with a murderous aura. They were hostile. The 3 of them were extremely fast and arrived before him in the blink of an eye. 3 mighty figures. The true bodies of the dragons scanned with their spirit consciousness and sensed that the 3 figures were all at the conjoint body realm. A look of mockery flashed through the eyes of the true bodies of the dragons. Without seeing how the true bodies of the dragons moved, their spirit consciousnesses moved, and the sabers on their knees suddenly bounced up and landed in their palms. The true bodies of the dragons had an indifferent expression as they gripped the dragon soul saber and slashed forward. This saber strike completely slashed at empty space, not slashing at anyone. The 3 figures that charged over were delighted. Seems like this person doesn't have many tricks up his sleeves. To think that his slash missed. The moment that thought crossed their minds, their expressions changed. After the slash landed, a gigantic vortex was formed where the blade passed by. It was earth-shattering and stirred the entire ocean. It was not obvious in the depths of the sea. If someone were to stand in the skies and look down at the surface of the sea, they would be able to clearly see that the seawater was gathering and spinning continuously, forming a gigantic vortex. The depths of the vortex seemed to reach the bottom of the sea. In the depths of the sea, the 3 conjoint body mighty figures had just attacked when their destiny dharmic weapons deviated from their original trajectories by the power of the vortex. Even the physical bodies of the 3 of them were somewhat out of their control. They were swept up by the terrifying force of the vortex and surged towards the dragon's soul saber. The 3 mighty figures were shocked. The power of that casual slash was so terrifying. This person was only at the Dharma characteristic realm. How could he produce such a saber technique? That slash had completely channeled the power of heaven and earth. This was a power that only conjoint body mighty figures could come into contact with. The moment that thought crossed the mind of the three conjoint body mighty figures, the true bodies of the dragons had already retracted their dragon soul saber and slashed out once more. Swoosh! A wave that was hundreds of thousands of meters tall surged towards the three of them. This wasn't real seawater, but waves formed from layers upon layers of saber chi. They contained an extremely fierce sharpness that could crush everything as they whistled over. The three mighty figures did not have time to think, as they channeled their essence spirits wildly, conjuring dermic arts one after another. They controlled their destiny dermic weapons to collide with the wave. Boom! There was a deafening sound. As though they were struck by lightning, the three mighty figures' Dao robes cracked, and their bodies were covered in wounds and dripping with blood. The eyes of the three mighty figures were filled with endless fear. Chapter 1392. Three conjoint body mighty figures were severely injured with just 2 slashes. Retreat first, we can't win. The three mighty cultivators transmitted their voices to one another and fled into the distance at the same time. Swoosh! In order to maximize their speed, the three mighty figures revealed their true forms at the same time. They were 3 living beings of the sea region, conjoint body realm demons. One of them was extremely massive. It was a silverfin megalodon. The gigantic silver fins on its back shone brightly and were extremely eye-catching in the deep sea. Legend has it that the silver fins on the back of the silverfin megalodon were born with the ability to absorb moonlight to cultivate and raise their cultivation. They were extremely powerful. In this sea region, they were considered as overlords of the shark race. Normally speaking, for living beings such as demons, their combat strength would increase by at least 30% after they reverted to their true forms. However, the silverfin megalodon did not linger for a single moment. After reverting to its true form, the first thing it chose to do was flee into the distance. As for the other 2 demons, one of them was a colorful dragonfish. Legend has it that dragonfish possessed a thin bloodline of dragons and could be considered as a branch of the mixed dragon lineage. Its potential was naturally extraordinary. The other demon's true form was an ancient electric eel that shone with blue lightning. It swayed its tail and shuttled through the deep sea at an extremely fast speed. Trying to escape? Su Zimo waved his saber, and a heavy saber chi surged around him, creating a series of raging waves that swept in all directions. Before the 3 demons could escape far, they were engulfed by the raging waves behind them. Roar! 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 The 3 demons shrieked and channeled their essence spirits wildly, releasing dermic arts one after another with all their might to collide with the raging waves. Bang! 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 The 3 demons shuddered and new injuries were added to their old injuries before they could recover. Scarlet blood seeped out of the mouths and noses of the 3 demons, and their organs were displaced by the raging waves. Fellow Taoist Long Mo were rather famous in the South Sea. Please show mercy, fellow Taoist. Sensing the aura of death, the silverfin megalodon could no longer hold on, and was the first to lower its pride and beg for mercy. You're here to kill me, but you want me to show mercy? Su Zimo asked with a mocking expression. Misunderstanding. The ancient electric eel also spoke in human language, and hurriedly explained. We heard that there's a powerhouse practicing saber techniques here. We were curious and wanted to come and exchange pointers with you. Su Zimo asked with a faint smile. Then how did the 3 of you know my name? The 3 great demons were stunned for a moment, as a trace of panic flashed across their eyes. But soon, the silverfin megalodon replied. Who doesn't know the name of Divine Phoenix Island's young master? Since you know that I am the young master of Divine Phoenix Island, you still dare to kill me? Su Zimo's expression gradually turned cold, and he slowly said, Who gave you such guts? When Su Zimo had first arrived at Divine Phoenix Island, he had only been there for a short 3 years. He hadn't come into contact with many people. After inheriting the position of young master, he had run off to the deep sea to cultivate. He did not recognize these 3 great demons at all. He also didn't know how he had formed a grudge with the 3 great demons. The only possibility was that the 3 great demons had been ordered by someone else. The 3 great demons had terrible expressions. The silverfin megalodon was silent for a long time before saying in a deep voice, Long mo, we have a Tao oath. We can't say anything about this. If you don't want to say it, then die. Su Zimo shook his head gently. He could not be bothered to waste his breath on the three great demons, and attacked once more, slashing forward. This time round, there was no sound when the dragon soul saber slashed down. A series of ripples appeared in the deep sea, and rippled towards the three great demons. This saber strike was silent, but it contained a fatal killing intent. Long mo, you're going too far. The silverfin megalodon roared, and suddenly opened its bloody mouth, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. A vicious glint flashed through its eyes. Poof, poof, poof. That mouthful of silver teeth suddenly fell out of the silverfin megalodon's mouth. Still stained with blood, they pierced towards Su Zimo like flying swords. That was the silverfin megalodon's trump card. He had cultivated that mouthful of teeth for so many years, and contained more than half of his cultivation. Even if he could survive after releasing that move, his combat strength would be greatly reduced. At this point, he could no longer care about anything else. The dragonfish and ancient electric eel at the side released their life-saving trump cards one after another as well. Talismans and secret skills burst forth one after another. Crack, crack, crack. The gigantic teeth collided with the ripples released by the dragon soul saber, and shattered instantly, turning into shards that sank to the bottom of the sea. There were thousands of teeth in the silverfin megalodon's mouth, yet they were all destroyed by Su Zimo's slash just like that. Poof, poof. The secret skills released by the dragonfish and ancient electric eel could not defend against the ripples of the saber. The talismans on the two great demons were shattered by the layers of ripples. The three great demons spat out a large mouthful of blood. Countless wounds appeared on their bodies, and their organs were lacerated by the ripples. They were riddled with injuries. The three great demons had grim expressions as they split into three different directions and fled into the distance. This was the South Sea after all. They had lived in the South Sea for more than 10,000 years, and were more familiar with the terrain, environment, and everything else of the South Sea than Su Zimo. They believed that as long as they were sufficiently far away, the three great demons could make use of the terrain of the South Sea to shake off Su Zimo. Su Zimo looked at the three fleeing great demons, and remained seated on the ground without getting up. To be precise, he had not stood up ever since the three great demons appeared. Suddenly Su Zimo closed his eyes. He chased after the feeling in his heart, as though it was his daily cultivation practice. A slash with his saber. This saber strike was like a heavenly steed soaring across the skies, leaving no trace behind. Originally, because of this great battle, this part of the sea was already in a perilous situation, the blue waves surging violently. However, after that slash, the sea returned to calmness. The massive South Sea was calm and peaceful. Before the three great demons could escape far, a saber beam descended from the skies and landed on their heads. Instantly, their bodies froze and their eyes dimmed. The three great demons' essence spirits were destroyed, and their Tao dissipated. At the same time, Su Zimo had already sensed the situation on the side of Qinglian's true body, and was relieved. Although he had improved a lot in his saber Tao after 3 years of cultivation, his cultivation realm was still at the perfected Dharma characteristic realm, and could not advance any further. The further one progressed on the path of cultivation, the more difficult it was. It was even more difficult to break through a major cultivation realm. Qinglian's true body was nourished by the primordial divine spring. Coupled with the creation, Qinglian only managed to enter the conjoint body realm after growing to grade 7. As for the dragon's true bodies, no one knew how long it would take for them to enter the conjoint body realm. It could be 10 years or 100 years. If there was no opportunity, it could even take thousands of years. Such things could not be rushed. It's time to return, Su Zimo murmured softly, and prepared to return to Divine Phoenix Island. Chapter 1393. Divine Phoenix Island. Many cultivators stood in midair, looking down at the surface of the sea and discussing. There was such a huge commotion in the South Sea earlier on. I wonder what kind of battle broke out below. I reckon that there's a high chance that a mighty figure is involved. Moing stood at the side and frowned slightly with a worried expression. Right then a cultivator walked over from not far away. He was dressed in white robes and looked rather refined. His expression was gentle, and he had a smile on his face. Mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix. Many cultivators bowed hurriedly when they saw this person. Even though the mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix failed to wield the Dragon Soul Saber 3 years ago, he still had an unshakable position on Divine Phoenix Island after many years. Furthermore, the mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix was the owner of another Divine Phoenix bone. For the past 3 years, the mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix had been facing the wall at the South Sea horizon, and only regained his freedom recently. After all, the mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix had been extremely restrained the entire time in the Dragon Soul Palace, and did not do anything out of line. What are you guys discussing? The mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix asked with a smile. Just now, the South Sea is suddenly surging violently. We're all guessing that there should be top experts fighting in the South Sea. A cultivator said hurriedly. Yes. The mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix nodded slightly. Now that the surface of the sea is calm, it seems like the battle is over. Everyone disperse and don't crowd around here. Understood. Many cultivators cupped their fists and prepared to leave. Swoosh. Right then, the sound of water echoed from the surface of the sea. 3 gigantic figures broke out of the sea, their bodies filled with the thick smell of blood. The crowd looked over instinctively, and could not help but be shocked. Not good. It's a silverfin megalodon. Ah, that's an ancient electric eel. There's also a dragonfish. Something's not right. The moment the exclamations sounded, everyone discovered something amiss. The 3 sea realm living beings were covered in wounds. Although their blood still emitted immense energy, they were no longer alive. The energy emitted by their blood was so strong. The cultivation realms of the 3 sea realm living beings were most likely at the conjoint body realm when they were alive. Strange. Why would the corpses of the 3 demonic beasts jump out of the sea by themselves? Just then, a sharp-eyed cultivator caught sight of a figure below the corpses of the 3 demonic beasts. His hair was scarlet like flames, and he wore a scarlet robe. He was holding the corpses of the 3 demonic beasts in one hand, and a long saber in the other. Many cultivators were stunned. Su Zimo had become the young master of Divine Phoenix Island. Although he had announced this to Divine Phoenix Island, he had gone into the sea to cultivate, and hadn't appeared at all. When the cultivators on the island saw Su Zimo, they couldn't immediately recognize him. Only Heavenly Phoenix's eyes flickered for a moment, before returning to normal. Moing immediately recognized Su Zimo, and a smile finally appeared on his face, as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. He walked up to Su Zimo and bowed. Young master, you finally returned. Greetings, young master. The cultivators of Divine Phoenix Island reacted and bowed in respect. The status of the young master of Divine Phoenix Island could be said to be second only to one on the island, and he could mobilize thousands of troops. Even some conjoint body elders had to bow when they saw Su Zimo. Su Zimo's gaze shifted to the Heavenly Phoenix mighty figure. With a smile, the Heavenly Phoenix mighty figure bowed slightly to Su Zimo. Greetings, young master. The smile of the Heavenly Phoenix mighty figure was very sincere, and made one feel as though they were bathed in a spring breeze. Unknowingly, one would have a good impression and trust of him. Young master, the Heavenly Phoenix mighty figure pointed to the corpses of the 3 demonic beasts in Su Zimo's hands. If I'm not wrong, these 3 demonic beasts are famous demons of the South Sea. I don't know them. Su Zimo said. They wanted to kill me at the bottom of the sea, but I killed them casually. The flesh of these 3 demons is precious, and I brought them up for the cultivators on the island to eat. Even if a demon was dead, its entire body was filled with treasures. Notwithstanding the bones, claws, and fangs, just the flesh of these demons contained extremely pure energy. Furthermore, the energy in the flesh of a demon that had just died was not that violent, and was relatively gentle. It was most suitable for consumption. When the surrounding cultivators heard that, they cheered excitedly. Su Zimo tossed the 3 demons into the crowd casually. Go and deal with them. Young master, you're generous. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure could not help but praise. Those 3 demons were infamous in the South Sea region. To think that they would be killed by you, young master. Young master, you don't seem to have entered the conjoint body realm. To think that you would possess such combat strength. Truly impressive. If it were anyone else, hearing these praises, they would inevitably reveal some joy. However, Su Zimo had a calm expression and suddenly asked, I've never met those 3 demons before. Why do you think they wanted to kill me? I don't know. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure said in a deep voice. The reason is nothing more than revenge or treasures. I'm guessing that those 3 demons must have taken a fancy to some treasure on you. When they saw that you were only at the Dharma characteristic realm, they were greedy. That explanation made sense. Right. Suddenly, the heavenly phoenix mighty figure took out a golden invitation from his storage bag and handed it to Su Zimo. A few days ago, Divine Phoenix Island received an invitation from the young master of East Ocean's Punglai Island to head to the East Ocean for a chat. East Ocean's Punglai Island. Su Zimo murmured softly and received the invitation. There was a line of red words on the invitation that seemed to be burning with flames and revealed a hint of sharpness. I heard that the young master of Divine Phoenix Island has been newly established. Congratulations. I'm also rather curious about you, fellow Taoist Long Mo. Right now, the hibiscus flowers of the East Ocean are blooming, and it's a rare sight. I'd like to invite you over for a chat to admire the flowers and drink tea. In the cultivation world, there was a saying that there were 2 islands and 1 palace. The 2 islands referred to Divine Phoenix Island of the South Ocean and Punglai Island of the East Ocean. Emoing took the invitation and glanced at it before nodding. This is indeed an invitation from Punglai Island. Who's the young master of Punglai Island? Su Zimo asked. The young master of Punglai Island. His Dao title is Xian Shuang, and he's at the conjoint body realm. Emoing said. There are similarities between Punglai Island and Divine Phoenix Island. Most of the cultivators on the island cultivate the Dao of the Saber as well. However, the Dao of the Saber left behind by the Saber Emperor is mostly bold and ferocious. As for the Dao of the Saber of Punglai Island, it's sinister and cunning. How's the relationship between the 2 islands? Su Zimo asked again. It's all right, Emoing said. Because the cultivators of the 2 islands cultivate the Dao of the Saber, it's inevitable for them to spar. However, there's no deep hatred between them, and no major conflicts have broken out. This invitation is rather polite. Why don't you head to Punglai Island to take a look, young master? Oh. Su Zimo raised his brows. Emoing explained. Firstly, the young master is newly established. Even without the invitation of mighty figure Mysterious Frost, you'd have to head to Punglai Island to take a look sooner or later. Secondly, the hibiscus tree is blooming on Punglai Island. It's a rare opportunity. The hibiscus tree was a divine tree of the East Ocean. Legend has it that when the hibiscus flowers bloomed, a ball of flames would bloom on each flower, and it was extremely stunning. There were even cultivators who comprehended the Tao by watching the hibiscus flowers bloom. Chapter 1394. Heavenly Phoenix, what do you think? Su Zimo asked in a seemingly casual manner. The mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix smiled. My thoughts are the same as Mo Ying's. I suggest that you head to Punglai Island for the appointment, young master. The saber technique legacy of Punglai Island is rather unique. If you can take a look, you might be able to gain new insights. Furthermore, you don't have to worry about your safety on this trip to Punglai. No matter how daring Punglai Island is, they wouldn't dare to target the young master of an island. Don't worry, young master. I'll accompany you on this trip, and make sure you come back unscathed. The mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix said confidently. All right, Su Zimo nodded. Since that's the case, let's head to Punglai Island to take a look. Heavenly Phoenix, go make the arrangements. All right. The mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix bowed and retreated, disappearing before long. No one was more familiar with such matters than him. Su Zimo looked at the departing back view of the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix with a flickering gaze. In deep thought he murmured softly, East Ocean, East Ocean. In less than an hour, Everything was prepared. There were not many people accompanying them this time round. There were only two conjoint body mighty figures, the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix and Mo Ying. There were more than 10 Dharma Daojun left. Jing Ming and Jing Sheng, who had an argument with Su Zimo in the Dragon Soul Palace, were among them. They arrived at the seaside. The mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix's fingers moved continuously and shot out divine lights that entered the sea. He hollered softly, "Come on out." Not long after he said that, a huge shadow appeared beneath the surface of the sea not far away. Immediately after, the surface of the sea bulged and a massive creature rose slowly. It carried a gigantic turtle shell on its back that resembled a massive continent. The mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix said, "This is a dragon turtle raised by Divine Phoenix Island. With it carrying us, we'll be able to reach Penglai Island in about 10 days. The dragon turtle was a pure-blooded ferocious beast. It was said that it had a trace of dragon blood in its body. Furthermore, this dragon turtle had already cultivated to the conjoint body realm. Su Zimo and the others landed on the back of the dragon turtle. The dragon turtle did not make a sound. Its thick limbs moved and broke through the huge waves, swimming towards the east at an astonishing speed. From afar, it looked like a moving continent. Su Zimo and the others floated on the sea for a total of 17 days. Over the past few days, they had encountered many powerful creatures in the sea. But after seeing this dragon turtle from Divine Phoenix Island, they all chose to avoid it. On this day, a large piece of land appeared before everyone's eyes. "We're here." The Heavenly Phoenix mighty figure slowly stood up. East Sea Penglai Island. The patrolling cultivators on the island had long noticed the situation on the surface of the sea and immediately reported it. Not long after, a large group of cultivators came out from Penglai Island to welcome them. The person in the lead looked extremely young. He wore a long white robe and had an extraordinary bearing. He shouted from afar, "Is that the young master of Divine Phoenix Island, fellow Taoist Long Mo up ahead? I'm Xian Shuang. I've heard a lot about you. Now that I've met you today, I'm truly impressed." Su Zimo smiled gently as well. "You're too polite, fellow Taoist Xian Shuang." Xian Shuang's gaze landed on the Heavenly Phoenix mighty figure, and Mo Ying behind Su Zimo. She nodded and said, "The two of you can be considered old acquaintances. How have you been?" "Greetings, fellow Taoist Xian Shuang." The Heavenly Phoenix mighty figure and Mo Ying bowed slightly. Although the three of them had the same cultivation realm, Xian Shuang was the young master of an island after all, and had a noble status. As such, the two of them could not be rude. "Fellow Taoist Long Mo, please." Xian Shuang turned slightly and invited. "Now that the Fusang tree is blooming, you came at the right time. Follow me to the Flower Appreciation Pavilion to take a look." "All right." Su Zimo nodded and did not decline. Under Xian Shuang's lead, everyone advanced. Before long, a majestic mountain appeared before them. Lava spewed out from the peak of the mountain, and hot air surged into the skies. "The Fusang tree is in this volcano," Xian Shuang explained. "Normally, this volcano will be silent. However, once the Fusang tree blooms, this volcano will erupt. This is not an ordinary volcano. This is the sacred fire mountain of Penglai Island. Even conjoint body mighty figures will be incinerated easily if they fall into the lava at the center of the volcano." At that moment, the Dharma Daojun who were following behind Su Zimo and the others were already drenched in sweat. They were still 5 kilometers away from the sacred fire mountain. However, the Dharma Daojun could not withstand it anymore. Xian Shuang smiled gently. "You guys stay here and guard. If you continue forward, your lives will be in danger. As for you, fellow Taoist Long Mo, you naturally don't have to worry." Although Su Zimo was also at the Dharma characteristic realm, he relied on his dragon's true body, and the temperature did not affect him at all. "Fellow Taoist Long Mo, please follow me." Xian Shuang led the way and continued. "We can't see the Fusang tree from here. The ancestor of Penglai Island once braved dangers and built a flower-viewing pavilion in an area of the sacred fire mountain. Once we ascend the sacred fire mountain and reach the flower pavilion, we'll be able to see the Fusang tree clearly." Su Zimo followed behind Xian Shuang with an indifferent expression. After the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix arrived, an unfathomable and strange smile appeared on his face. However, it disappeared quickly. The closer they were to the sacred fire mountain, the more obvious the terrifying heat was. The surroundings of the sacred fire mountain had long turned into ruins. There was no vegetation at all, and it was dry and scorching. When they arrived at the foot of the sacred fire mountain, the gap between everyone was gradually revealed. Among them, the three conjoint body mighty figures behind the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix and Emoing were flushed, and their foreheads were covered in sweat as they panted slightly. As for Su Zimo, the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix and Xian Shuang, their expressions were normal. Although the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix and Xian Shuang did not say anything, their hearts skipped a beat. They were at the conjoint body realm, and were paragons of the conjoint body realm. One of them was the young master of an island, while the other possessed the divine phoenix bone with a shocking bloodline. They could naturally withstand this temperature. However, Long Emo was only at the Dharma characteristic realm, and his expression did not change either. Everyone ascended the mountain and continued forward. Rumble. Boom. After ascending the sacred fire mountain, everyone could clearly hear the rumbling sounds of the volcano erupting with a terrifying might. Amidst this roar, everyone felt a sense of insignificance. It was as though once the sacred fire mountain was enraged, lava would rain down, and everyone would be burned to ashes. Everyone did not stop, and were getting closer and closer to the peak. After walking for a while more, a gigantic pavilion finally appeared in front of them. It's right ahead. We'll be there soon. Xian Shuang pointed to the pavilion ahead, and said as she quickened her steps. At that moment, the three conjoint body mighty figures behind Mo Ying and Xian Shuang were already panting and sweating profusely. Their lips were already chapped. Even Xian Shuang, the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix, and Su Zimo were blushing slightly. Su Zimo was secretly shocked. They had yet to reach the mouth of the volcano, and the heat wave emitted by the lava was already so powerful. How terrifying would the lava that spewed out of the volcano be? Chapter 1395. Everyone take a look. Xian Shuang stood in the pavilion and pointed forward. Everyone followed Xian Shuang's gaze. From this angle, they could see the huge volcano. The boiling magma inside was as red as blood, spewing out surging heat waves. It was extremely shocking. What was even more shocking was that there was a tall tree growing in the volcano. Its branches were covered in green leaves and blooming with flame-like flowers. The Fusang tree. This is the legendary divine tree of the East Sea. Emoing muttered softly. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have imagined that there would be a plant growing in such boiling magma. Araki Takashi, it's really you. Right then, a venomous voice filled with hatred sounded from outside the flower-admiring pavilion. Among the people in the pavilion, only Emoing was slightly surprised. He turned around and looked in the direction of the voice. He shouted, "Who's there?" The others, including Xian Shuang, Heavenly Phoenix, and even Su Zimo, did not look too surprised. It was as if they had already known that this would happen. Those who could recognize him as Araki Takashi must have met him before. On the Eastern Sea, there was only one person who had met him, the Golden Crow Third Prince. Su Zimo slowly turned around and looked at the Golden Crow Third Prince not far away with a mocking expression. He also said, "It's really you." Actually, when Su Zimo heard about the East Sea, he thought of the Golden Crow Third Prince. Rumor had it that the forbidden ground of the Golden Crow race was Penglai Island in the East Sea. From your tone, you've already guessed it? Heavenly Phoenix asked with a smile. Su Zimo said, "It's been hard on you to take action after enduring for so long. When did you start suspecting me?" Heavenly Phoenix was puzzled and asked, "I've never acted strangely towards you. Even you, the young master, were greeted by me first." "Yes. When we first met, I already had my suspicions." Su Zimo said, "Back then, you asked me where the woman who gave me the divine phoenix bone went. I said she left a long time ago and never came back." "That's right, there is such a thing." The Heavenly Phoenix almighty figure nodded. Su Zimo continued, "When you heard the news, You looked a little regretful, but I vaguely felt that you let out a long sigh of relief and relaxed a lot. Because this way, you won't have to worry about attacking me. The Heavenly Phoenix Almighty could not help but laugh. He nodded and said, "Not bad. Your senses are really sharp. I can't even hide such a subtle change in emotion from you." Su Zimo continued. "After that, everything was out of your control. In a situation where you were completely unprepared, I suddenly grasped the Dragon Soul Saber and became the young master of Divine Phoenix Island." Hearing this, the Heavenly Phoenix Almighty figure's face immediately darkened. Su Zimo asked, "A few days ago, the 3 great demons that tried to kill me were also your handiwork, right?" "That's right. Now that things had come to this, there was no need to hide it anymore." The Heavenly Phoenix Almighty figure nodded. "At that time, I received a secret letter from Penglai Island saying that you were the legendary Tao Lord Araki Takeshi. In the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley, you killed many conjoint body mighty figures and shook the world. Naturally, I had my suspicions about that." Su Zimo continued. "That's why you got those 3 great demons to kill me. You wanted to test my capabilities." "That's right," the Heavenly Phoenix Almighty figure said. "When I saw how quickly the 3 great demons died, I decided to join forces with Penglai Island." "Heavenly Phoenix Almighty, how dare you collude with Penglai Island to harm the young master?" Only now did Emoing react, and she couldn't help asking with an icy expression. Among everyone present, Emoing was probably the only one who was in the dark. Initially, Su Zimo thought that Emoing was bribed by the Heavenly Phoenix Almighty. After all, Emoing was the one who suggested that he come to Penglai Island initially. But now, it seemed like Emoing truly did not know. "Heavenly Phoenix, you're someone of Divine Phoenix Island. How can you do such a disgraceful thing without letting down your conscience and the teachings that the island master has taught you all these years?" Emoing was furious and questioned once more. Until now, she still could not understand how the Heavenly Phoenix mighty figure, who was originally gentle and kind to others, suddenly became like this. "Conscience." The Heavenly Phoenix Almighty figure smirked and laughed self-deprecatingly. "Let me ask you, is the island master worthy of his conscience for passing the position of young master to an outsider? Whoever can wield the Dragon Soul Saber will be the young master of Divine Phoenix Island. That's a rule set by the Saber Emperor. The island master is only acting according to the teachings of the ancestors. What's wrong with that?" Emoing argued loudly. "Fufu." The Heavenly Phoenix Almighty figure laughed. "I was born and raised in Divine Phoenix Island. How much have I sacrificed for Divine Phoenix Island all these years? Just because I can't wield the Dragon Soul Saber, the island master passed the position of young master to an outsider? I refuse to accept this." "Why?" The Heavenly Phoenix Almighty figure had worked hard on Divine Phoenix Island. He did not expect that one day he would be trampled on by Su Zimo. He could not accept this at all. "The Dragon Soul Saber belongs to me. The position of young master also belongs to me." The Heavenly Phoenix Almighty figure did not conceal the killing intent in his heart. He slowly said, "I don't care who you are. If you dare to snatch something from me, then only death awaits you. The reason why you, Araki Takeshi, can wield the Dragon Soul Saber is because an expert implanted the Divine Phoenix bone into your body. As long as I can take away your Divine Phoenix bone, with 2 Divine Phoenix bones, I can wield the Dragon Soul Saber too." Emoing said coldly, "Heavenly Phoenix, if you continue to be stubborn today, what's the use of you wielding the Dragon Soul Saber? You will be hunted down by everyone in Divine Phoenix Island, and will never be able to return." "Ha ha ha ha." The Heavenly Phoenix Almighty could not help but laugh. "Emoing, you're too naive. Today, none of you can leave. With Araki Takeshi dead, I'll push all of this away cleanly. The position of young master of Divine Phoenix Island can only be taken by me." The Heavenly Phoenix Almighty figure had long discussed everything with Penglai Island and the Golden Crow race. As long as Araki Takeshi died, he would push this matter to the Golden Crow race, and he would be able to stay out of it. By the time he returned to Divine Phoenix Island with the Dragon Soul Saber, who would know the truth? After saying so much, The heavenly phoenix almighty figure finally vented all the anger that had been suppressed in his heart for all these years. He felt great. His gaze shifted and landed on Su Zimo's face. Su Zimo's expression still looked calm and composed, as though he did not realize that he was already in danger and could die at any time. This calmness caused the heavenly phoenix almighty to frown and feel very frustrated. There's something that I don't understand. The heavenly phoenix almighty figure glared at Su Zimo and said in a deep voice, "Since you already suspect me, why did you follow me?" "That's because you want to plot against my divine phoenix bone. I have the same thoughts." Su Zimo smiled as well. "If you were honest, I wouldn't have attacked you. However, since you're courting death, don't blame me." Chapter 1396. Prior to this, even if Su Zimo suspected mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix, he could not do anything. As mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix had said, he had never displayed any hostility, nor did he do anything out of line. Even if Su Zimo wanted to deal with mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix, he had no chance. However, things were different now. "The reason why I didn't expose you was because I wanted to see how long more you could endure." Su Zimo had a mocking expression. "Now it seems like you're nothing more than that. Araki Takashi, you want to snatch my divine phoenix bone? Think about your own situation." Mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix sneered. "Since I chose to lay my cards on the table with you, I'm fully prepared. Even if you're Tao Lord Araki Takashi, you'll have to die here today." "You?" Su Zimo smiled gently and shifted his gaze to the Golden Crow Third Prince. "You want to kill me with this cripple? Tao Lord Araki Takashi?" The moment he heard the word cripple, the Golden Crow Third Prince's expression darkened as he grit his teeth. Back in the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley, his third claw was crippled by the divine phoenix claw conjured by Su Zimo, and had yet to regrow it even till now. Conjoint body mighty figures could regrow severed limbs. However, it was difficult for the third leg of the Golden Crow race, or the Heavenly Eye race, to recover once it was severely injured. That was equivalent to destroying more than half of the Golden Crow Third Prince's cultivation. Right now, although the Golden Crow Third Prince was still at the conjoint body realm, his combat strength was far inferior to before, and he was ranked last among the 10 Golden Crows. With such a deep grudge, it would be difficult for him to appease his anger unless he skinned Su Zimo alive and ground his bones into ashes. "Xian Shuang, as the young master of Penglai Island, you're actually helping the Golden Crow race to murder the young master of Divine Phoenix Island today?" Emoing refused to give up and questioned loudly. "It's useless to say that." Su Zimo shook his head. "Since Penglai Island invited me here, they have no intention of letting me leave alive." "Smart." Xian Shuang nodded and praised him. Su Zimo changed the topic. He glanced at Xian Shuang and the others and said, "However, you can't hurt me." On mighty figure Heavenly Phoenix's side, including Xian Shuang, the 3 conjoint body mighty figures behind him, and the Golden Crow Third Prince, there were only 6 mighty figures. Compared to the Heaven and Earth Valley, this was a far cry. "Araki Takashi, don't worry." The Golden Crow Third Prince eerily smiled. "Since I know you are the young master of Divine Phoenix Island, I naturally prepared a great gift for you. Activate." The Golden Crow Third Prince's feet shook as he shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, dazzling brilliance suddenly burst out from the surroundings of the flower-admiring pavilion. It was filled with an extremely strange power. Like shackles, it wrapped around Su Zimo's body. A formation had long been set up around the flower-admiring pavilion, and was waiting for Su Zimo to enter. The strange thing was that the power of the formation only affected Su Zimo, but Emoing did not feel anything. Suddenly Su Zimo frowned. When he was trapped in the formation, he actually felt that his bloodline was being suppressed by a strange force. Even his essence spirit was not spared. This formation is a formation passed down from the upper realm of the primordial era. It's called the 8 Gates Dragon Lock Formation, and it's specially targeted against dragons. The Golden Crow Third Prince said, "How is it, Araki Takashi? Do you feel that your bloodline and essence spirit are imprisoned and can't be activated? Your dermic arts, secret skills, divine powers and bloodline are all crippled. Right now, you're equivalent to half a cripple." Mo Ying's expression was grim, as he stood in front of Su Zimo protectively. Su Zimo did not say anything as well. Ha 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 ha. When he saw that, the Golden Crow Third Prince was even more pleased. He thought that he had complete control of the situation, and could not help but laugh into the skies. Araki Takeshi, don't think about breaking the formation, the Golden Crow Third Prince continued. The reason why this formation was built here is because it borrowed the power of the lava of the sacred fire mountain. Given your strength, you won't be able to break through this formation. Of course, I've also heard that your attainments in formations are extremely high. Unfortunately, I won't give you the time or chance to break the formation. Golden Crow Third Prince, you're too naive, Su Zimo said slowly. I've said it before, the few of you in this dragon lock formation won't be able to kill me. Before he could finish his sentence, 2 blazing flames burned in Su Zimo's eyes and 2 scarlet divine lights shot towards the Golden Crow Third Prince. Illumination Eye. The Golden Crow Third Prince was so scared that his laughter stopped abruptly. Shoo. The Golden Crow Third Prince reverted to his true form right away, and transformed into a golden beam of light that fled into the distance. Poof! The golden beam of light paused in midair. Immediately after, there was a shrill scream. The Golden Crow Third Prince's figure appeared once more. One of his golden wings had been pierced by the Illumination Eye and was charred. The speed of the Golden Crow race was one of the top among the Primordial 9 races. Although the Golden Crow Third Prince's combat strength was reduced after losing his third leg, it did not affect his movement technique. Even so, his visual technique arrived instantly, and pierced one of the Golden Crow Third Prince's wings. If he had reacted slower, he would have been reduced to a corpse. Su Zimo felt that it was a pity. He was aiming to kill the Golden Crow Third Prince. Of course, his visual technique this time round was not completely fruitless. Apart from severely injuring the Golden Crow Third Prince, he even killed a conjoint body mighty figure of Penglai Island behind him. Su Zimo's attack was extremely sudden, and without warning. Coupled with the fact that he released his visual technique instantly, he was extremely fast. Although the Golden Crow Third Prince reacted, and escaped first, the conjoint body mighty figure behind him was caught off guard. In a stunned expression, his glabella was pierced by the Illumination Eye. A huge hole was burned in the head of the mighty figure, let alone his essence spirit. How could this be? Xian Shuang frowned slightly and felt uneasy. Everyone don't worry, the Golden Crow Third Prince shouted. Araki Takeshi's visual technique can be released without the use of his essence spirit. After releasing this visual technique, Araki Takeshi won't have any trump cards left. Is that so? Su Zimo laughed and swiped his storage bag, retrieving a long saber with a chilling aura and an unbridled might. The blade was almost transparent, and the dragon bones within could be seen. Dragon Soul Saber. Su Zimo gripped the Dragon Soul Saber and slashed forward. Swoosh! Layers of saber chi burst forth and formed a torrential wave that engulfed the Golden Crow Third Prince and the others. Draconic chi circled around the saber, forming a divine dragon. It surged in the raging waves, exuding boundless majesty as it charged towards the crowd. How could this be? The Golden Crow Third Prince and the others were shocked. The fact that the saber contained such a powerful intent meant that Su Zimo's essence spirit was not restricted at all. Chapter 1397. It had to be said that array formations passed down from the upper world of the primordial era were indeed extremely powerful. After activating, Su Zimo's bloodline was completely locked. No matter how he channeled, he could not activate his bloodline. Under normal circumstances, his essence spirit would not be able to escape the fate of being locked either. However, the consciousness of the dragon's true bodies was truly terrifying. Back then, when Wuxia detonated his essence spirit to release the life-severing curse, Qingmian's true body was almost killed. However, the true bodies of the dragons were not affected at all. In the consciousness of the dragon's true bodies, there was not only a dormant divine turtle, but also 3 balls of light with terrifying auras. The power of the 8 Gates Dragon Lock formation was wiped out by the 3 balls of light the moment it descended into the consciousness. Therefore, although Su Zimo could not activate his bloodline, his essence spirit was not restricted at all. Even without his killing weapon of his body and bloodline, he still had many powerful trump cards that he could use. The Dragon Soul Saber slashed out, and a tsunami and dragon roar burst forth, at the same time with a terrifying might. Humph! Xian Shuang harumphed coldly and chided softly. You're asking for trouble by using the Sea Calming Saber technique on Sacred Fire Mountain. Xian Shuang summoned his destiny dermic weapon, a saber as well. The saber looked extremely extraordinary. It did not have the thickness of the Dragon Soul Saber, and was relatively narrow and slender, resembling a venomous python that wanted to devour humans. Channeling his mental cultivation technique, Xian Shuang slashed viciously against the incoming wave. Xing! A scorching saber chi burst forth, and split the incoming wave into two, producing an ear-piercing sound of water and fire colliding. Even the divine dragon conjured by the Dragon Soul Saber was slain. As a conjoint body mighty figure, and the young master of Penglai Island, Xian Shuang was naturally a top-tier paragon and monster incarnate. He was stronger than the titular disciples of the super sects. However, he was not at the level where he could compete with Su Zimo in terms of saber Dao. The reason why he was able to break through Su Zimo's saber technique was because their cultivation techniques countered each other. Xian Shuang's cultivation technique was of the fire attribute. On the Sacred Fire Mountain, the power of this cultivation technique had reached its peak. On the contrary, every slash of the Sea Calming Scroll contained the concept of the ocean. Once the saber technique was used, its power would be weakened on the Sacred Fire Mountain. Su Zimo's expression did not change. He sheathed his saber and struck again. This saber strike was like a heavenly steed soaring through the skies, leaving no trace behind. However, at that moment, the entire world seemed to have stopped. Xian Shuang saw the Dragon's Soul Saber slowly chopping down from above her head, but she could not move at all. Xian Shuang finally looked frightened. According to the legends, it was the most terrifying saber art in the inheritance of the Saber Emperor. Over the years, the cultivators of the two islands had sparred with one another countless times, but none of them had managed to execute the move. In fact, in the minds of the crowd, that saber technique had already turned into an illusory legend. Now, when the ocean-suppressing strike arrived, Xian Shuang finally felt the fear of seeing the blade coming, but not being able to dodge it. Clang! Right then, the sound of a saber being unsheathed rang out. An incomparably stunning saber light descended, and the saber intent was identical to the ocean-suppressing strike. It slashed towards Su Zimo's Dragon Soul Saber. The two saber intents that were almost identical collided, killing, canceling out and devouring each other. Xian Shuang broke free from the shroud of that terrifying power instantly. Her expression was uncertain, and she broke out in cold sweat unknowingly. Su Zimo's gaze narrowed slightly. Heavenly Phoenix. This scene was somewhat out of his expectations. I didn't expect you to have comprehended the ocean-suppressing strike as well, Su Zimo said. Just now, it was the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix who released the ocean-suppressing strike to save Xian Shuang. The mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix curled her lips and said proudly, Araki Takashi, you've underestimated me. This is not the only thing that can surprise you. The mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix was extremely well hidden. Even Mo-ing did not know his true strength, let alone Su Zimo. Mo-ing did not know that the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix had also cultivated the ocean-suppressing strike. Oh, what other tricks do you have? Su Zimo raised his brows. The mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix said in a deep voice, Today, I joined forces with Penglai and the Golden Crow race to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Araki Takashi, without the 8 Gates Dragon Lock formation, you might not be a match for me even in a one-on-one fight. Is that so? Su Zimo smiled and said, Then take this move of mine. Su Zimo activated his spirit consciousness, and a divine light burst forth from his glabella into the sky. The power of divine power spread. Boom! A loud bang sounded from the sky. The clouds exploded and a thick stone pillar descended from the skies, emitting a terrifying might as it charged towards the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix. The stone pillar was grayish-white, with a 5-clawed divine dragon crawling on it. It was lifelike, and seemed as though it could suppress all races. This was the second innate divine power that Su Zimo had comprehended, the ancestral dragon divine pillar. With the descent of this innate divine power, the battle erupted. The two conjoint body mighty figures of Penglai Island surrounded Emoing. Although Emoing was alone, she was not disadvantaged against two conjoint body mighty figures. As for the Golden Crow Third Prince, the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix and Xian Shuang, they were against Su Zimo. The Golden Crow Third Prince and Xian Shuang released their trump cards one after another and attacked the ancestral dragon divine pillar. At the same time, the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix channeled her bloodline and roared into the skies. A loud phoenix cry burst forth, and her blood chi surged as she slashed at the ancestral dragon divine pillar. Boom! An earth-shattering boom rang out. The ancestral dragon divine pillar was shattered by the three of them. Ha 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 ha! The mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix roared in laughter. The legendary monster incarnate of history is nothing much. I'll let you witness my capabilities. The moment he said that, the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix flashed and arrived before Su Zimo instantly, drawing his saber and slashing. Splash! Not only did that slash produce layers of saber intent, the sound of a tsunami even echoed from the body of the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix. Tsunami blood. The tsunami of the bloodline resonated with the tsunami of the saber intent, causing the power of the slash to increase greatly. Su Zimo raised his dragon soul saber and slashed in reverse. Clang! Sparks flew when the saber collided. Su Zimo shuddered and could not help but take a step back. After all, his cultivation realm was a major cultivation realm lower than the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix. Furthermore, his bloodline was sealed, and his melee combat strength was naturally inferior to the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix. At that moment, Xian Shuang closed in and stabbed out as well. Compared to the saber technique of the mighty figure of the Heavenly Phoenix, that slash was crafty and impossible to defend against. Su Zimo retreated once more. As for the Golden Crow Third Prince, he relied on the agility of his movement technique and paced around Su Zimo continuously, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Although his wings were injured, he was still a threat to Su Zimo. The three mighty figures joined forces and completely had the upper hand, controlling the situation. Su Zimo had a calm expression. Even though he was disadvantaged, there was no hint of panic in his eyes, as though everything was under his control. Chapter 1398. Su Zimo's melee combat strength was greatly reduced with his bloodline sealed. For a moment, he was suppressed by the three mighty figures of Heavenly Phoenix. However, even if he could not use his bloodline, Su Zimo could still remain undefeated with his physique that cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness and his omniscient spirit perception. Heavenly Phoenix, is that all you've got? In the midst of the battle, Su Zimo was still able to divert his attention and chuckled. The mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix's expression turned cold as he said coldly, "Araki Takashi, since you're bent on dying, I'll let you witness my true strength." Screech! The blood chi within the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix surged as he reared his head and howled. His howl penetrated metal and cracked stone. It was like the cry of a phoenix and contained endless might. Behind him, a divine bird that burned with raging flames gradually appeared. It flapped its wings with a dignified expression and a cold gaze, as though it was a divine being that had descended into the world. The divine bird was scarlet and burned with flames. It did not have any other feathers, and was incomparably divine. The mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix stood in midair, and looked insufferably arrogant under the illumination of the divine bird behind him. Bloodline phenomenon. Emoing was shocked when he caught sight of that from the corner of his eye, and could not help but exclaim. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly, but did not reveal much of a surprised expression. When he saw the bloodline phenomenon behind the mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix, it confirmed a guess in his heart. Araki Takashi, the bloodline flowing in my body is the bloodline of the divine phoenix, and is not weaker than yours. The mighty figure of Heavenly Phoenix said slowly. The only thing you're better than me in is that there was once an expert who defied the heavens and changed your fate by attaching the divine phoenix bone into your body. Otherwise, you would be inferior to me. You wouldn't have been able to wield the dragon soul saber before me either. True enough. The bloodline of the mighty figure of heavenly phoenix was indeed the bloodline of the divine phoenix. Actually, the Tao title of the mighty figure of heavenly phoenix had already revealed some information. Furthermore, the heavenly phoenix mighty figure had once told Su Zimo that half of his body did not have the bloodline of the human race. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure said, "Back in the Dragon Soul Palace, I released the divine phoenix blood essence and wanted to fuse it with the divine phoenix bone. If I succeed, I will transform into the phoenix bloodline that is comparable to the forbidden races." Su Zimo was enlightened and gradually understood something. In the primordial era, there were 3 taboos in Tianhuang mainland. In fact, the dragon phoenix, the Kuan Peng, and the Ho were not the only forbidden races. The phoenix was also a forbidden race, but it had never appeared on planet Tianhuang. There were many divine phoenixes and divine phoenixes, but only 1 in a billion would be born. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure shook his head slightly. A trace of hatred flashed across his eyes as he said, "Unfortunately, he still failed." Su Zimo's divine phoenix bone had already fused into his body. Even so, he had not been able to transform into the dragon phoenix bloodline. The divine phoenix bone of the heavenly phoenix mighty figure was merely a bone fragment. It was wishful thinking if he wanted to create the phoenix bloodline through the fusion of bloodlines. However, Araki Takashi, you can die in peace now, the heavenly phoenix mighty figure said. I'll definitely not waste the divine phoenix bone in your body. With 2 divine phoenix bones, the chances of me transforming will increase greatly. Don't waste your breath on him, Xian Shuang urged. Hurry up and kill him. I don't want anything else to happen. Kill. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure hollered, and the divine phoenix behind him soared into the skies, charging towards Su Zimo with raging flames. At the same time, the heavenly phoenix mighty figure and the other 2 attacked at the same time and charged towards Su Zimo once more, releasing their most ferocious attacks. If it was any other time, Su Zimo could naturally fight against the divine phoenix phenomenon head-on when he activated his bloodline and created a bloodline phenomenon. But now that his bloodline was sealed, he could not use his bloodline phenomenon either. Su Zimo had a calm expression as he looked at the 3 of them charging over. He conjured a hand seal with his fingertips and waved his hands in front of him, causing a gray mist to spread out from his palms. The gray mist emitted a strange dermic power fluctuation and enveloped the 3 of them like a gigantic swamp. Baron. Right now, in the central region of Baron, the speed at which one's lifespan was reduced could reach 1,000 years per breath. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure and Xian Shuang were both at the conjoint body realm at a young age and had cultivated for thousands of years. They still had more than 10,000 years of lifespan. However, even Mahayana patriarchs were unwilling to endure the reduction of their lifespan, let alone conjoint body mighty figures with a lifespan of 20,000 years. Furthermore, a single breath was 1,000 years. That speed was way too fast and nobody could withstand it. It's that dermic art. The Golden Crow Third Prince's pupils constricted. When he saw the gray mist surging in Su Zimo's palm, he reacted right away and sped into the distance. After all, he had witnessed the might of Baron in Heaven and Earth Valley. Therefore, he was prepared and escaped right away when he saw that something was amiss. However, the heavenly phoenix mighty figure and Xian Shuang did not recognize the power of Baron. When the gray ripple spread over and engulfed the 2 of them, the 2 of them were greatly shaken and revealed a look of horror. Lifespan. My lifespan, Xian Shuang exclaimed. Although he had a noble status and was knowledgeable as the young master of Penglai Island, he was at a loss when he suddenly encountered such a situation. His lifespan was decreasing way too quickly. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure was shocked as well. His first reaction was still to channel his essence spirit and bloodline, to condense dermic powers to fight against Baron. However, he realized that the domineering dermic art was such that even the blood of the divine phoenix flowed in his body, could not do anything about it. At the same time, the divine phoenix phenomenon had already descended in front of Su Zimo. The barren dermic art had no effect on the divine phoenix phenomenon. Humph! Su Zimo harumphed coldly and extended his right arm. He opened his palm and grabbed the divine phoenix phenomenon. Boom! The divine phoenix phenomenon collided heavily against Su Zimo's right hand and let out a deafening bang as flames surged into the skies. Su Zimo's face was pale. His entire arm was burnt by the divine phoenix phenomenon until his flesh was lacerated. If not for the divine phoenix bone, his entire arm would have been crippled. Although his bloodline was sealed, the existence of the divine phoenix bone blocked most of the power of the divine phoenix phenomenon. He's not dead yet. The pupils of the heavenly phoenix mighty figure constricted slightly as he retreated, wanting to escape from the range of Baron. Right then Su Zimo charged out from the flames. Stepping on the gray ripples of Baron, he arrived before the heavenly phoenix mighty figure instantly. Within the range of Araki Takashi's dermic art, the movements of other cultivators would be extremely slow. However, it did not affect Su Zimo at all. Trying to escape? With a cold expression, Su Zimo suddenly reached out and grabbed the head of the heavenly phoenix mighty figure. Go! The heavenly phoenix mighty figure slapped his storage bag and withdrew a scarlet bone fragment, injecting dermic powers into it. The bone fragment shone with a divine light and charged towards Su Zimo. It was the divine phoenix bone of the heavenly phoenix mighty figure. All right, Su Zimo's gaze intensified. I've been waiting for your divine phoenix bone. Chapter 1399. Shoo. A bronze square tripod flew out from Su Zimo's glabella. It was filled with cracks and emitted an ancient aura, as though it had passed through the primordial era. The bronze square tripod blocked in front of Su Zimo. Although the scarlet divine light released by the divine phoenix bone in the hands of the heavenly phoenix mighty figure was powerful, and could even burn through the body of a mighty figure, it did not cause any ripples when it collided with the bronze square tripod. Swoosh! On the contrary, the bronze square tripod collided fiercely towards the heavenly phoenix mighty figure under Su Zimo's control. Normally, the heavenly phoenix mighty figure could have easily avoided the collision by channeling his dermic powers and bloodline. However, at that moment, he was trapped in the gray fog of Baron, and his movements were slow. He could not dodge the bronze square tripod at all. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure reacted extremely quickly as well. He swung his saber and slashed towards the bronze square tripod. At the same time, he channeled the divine phoenix bone and released another scarlet flame that collided with the bronze square tripod. Clang! Sparks flew when the saber struck the bronze square tripod. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure shuddered and felt his arm go numb. His saber trembled endlessly and almost flew out of his hands. That saber was his destiny dermic weapon, and also a connate dermic weapon. It was refined with the blood of the divine phoenix, and could even fight against the dragon soul saber. However, at that moment, the saber buzzed and trembled when it struck the bronze square tripod, as though it was wailing. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure could not care less. Making use of the recoil from the clash, he channeled his bloodline and dermic powers and retreated, breaking free of the barren area. However, the moment he leaped up, he felt a figure flash before him. Su Zimo had already arrived before him and coiled around his body like an anaconda. Su Zimo's expression was cold as he took a deep breath of air and exerted strength all over his body. Anaconda coil. Every single muscle on Su Zimo's body expanded and could compress the space of the heavenly phoenix mighty figure continuously, or even kill him. The heavenly phoenix almighty being struggled subconsciously, but she couldn't break free. He felt that Su Zimo's body, just now, was weak and powerless, but after he wrapped himself around him, he instantly became as hard as metal and unshakable. Not good. The heavenly phoenix almighty figure felt his scalp tingle, and his heart trembled. Araki Takashi wants to kill me. Under the intense sense of danger, the heart of the heavenly phoenix mighty figure palpitated intensely, as though it was about to explode. His bloodline surged as he reared his head back and let out a resounding phoenix cry. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure felt the threat of death. This bloodline eruption was already going all out. Su Zimo attacked with all his might. The heavenly phoenix mighty figure struggled with all her might. The two of them were madly wrestling with each other. If Su Zimo's bloodline had not been sealed, he would have been able to kill the heavenly phoenix powerhouse in the blink of an eye. However, at this moment, Su Zimo was unable to use his bloodline and was actually in a stalemate with the heavenly phoenix almighty figure. At this moment, the Baron's spell had already dissipated. All of a sudden, two golden beams of light suddenly appeared outside the flower-admiring pavilion. Like lightning, they arrived instantly and emitted endless killing intent. A terrifying spirit consciousness pressure descended. Mo Ying's heart skipped a beat and her expression changed. This pressure even caused her to feel waves of suffocation. Not good, a half-martial ancestor has descended. Mo Ying was alarmed. From the corner of her eye, her heart sank when she caught sight of the two golden lights. The two golden lights surged with blood chi, and their auras were identical to the Golden Crow Third Prince. They were incomparably scorching, and were clearly from the Golden Crow race. Half-martial ancestor experts of the primordial races. It's over. Mo Ying felt despair. At the same time, Su Zimo sensed danger as well. The habitat of the Golden Crow race was on Penglai Island. It was not surprising that two half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race had descended. If Su Zimo's bloodline was not sealed, he would most likely be doomed against the half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race. Furthermore, he could not use his bloodline. Now that he had all his trump cards, he had no chance of winning against two half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race. Araki Takashi, you're dead for sure. Ha 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 ha. The mighty figure of the heavenly phoenix could not help but laugh. Su Zimo had a calm expression and did not say anything. When he saw that the two golden lights were about to reach him, an extremely terrifying spirit consciousness fluctuation emanated from Su Zimo's glabella. Suddenly, a palm-sized scarlet scale floated out from his glabella in the shape of a crescent moon. Essence Spirit Secret Skill, Reverse Scale. The pupils of the mighty figure of the heavenly phoenix constricted violently. He could sense a strong aura of death from the scale. In his consciousness, his essence spirit was trembling uncontrollably. Thankfully, the essence spirit secret skill was not targeted at him, but the two half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race. Otherwise, the mighty figure of the heavenly phoenix believed that he would definitely die. The two half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race were shocked as well and stopped in their tracks. Under normal circumstances, a single essence spirit secret skill of the Dharma Daojun would not be able to threaten them. A single spirit consciousness from them could shatter the other party's essence spirit secret skill. However, the scale was different. Even the two half-martial progenitors of the Golden Crow tribe felt slightly threatened. You don't know what's good for you. The two half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race hollered and conjured their essence spirit secret skills as well. Two three-legged golden crows that burned with golden flames flew out and collided with the scale. The three essence spirit secret skills collided silently. However, the surrounding void was trembling and twisting. Even the light was being shifted. Cracks appeared on the reverse scale, and it shattered silently. Anyone who touched the reverse scale of a dragon would die. Although the reverse scale was strong, there was a limit to it. The essence spirit secret skills of the two half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race shattered the reverse scale. Of course, the two half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race grunted as well and felt a sharp pain in their essence spirits. Although they were not injured, they were still shocked. A single Dharma Daojuan's essence spirit nearly injured their essence spirits. What would happen if that person were to advance to the conjoint body realm? Kill! The two half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race hollered and attacked once more. The two half-martial ancestors grabbed with their palms, and incomparably pure dermic powers condensed. Instantly, a spear appeared in their palms. At the conjoint body realm, dermic powers were already cultivated to the limits. A casual grab was the strongest dermic art. The spear burned with golden essence sun fire that was incomparably hot. as though it could incinerate everything. Swoosh! 2 long spears were thrown out, and in an instant, they were right in front of Suzimo. Suzimo could only release his arm and summon the bronze square tripod to block in front of him. At the same time, a vicious glint flashed through his eyes. He wielded the dragon soul saber in his other hand and swiped it forward silently, causing ripples to appear. Since Suzimo was fighting against the 2 half-martial ancestors, the mighty figure of the heavenly phoenix naturally broke free from her restraints and could not help but feel relieved. He was about to escape. All of a sudden, he caught sight of something from the corner of his eye. Ripples seemed to appear in the void behind him, and they had already arrived behind him. Boom! The 2 spears collided heavily with the bronze square tripod with a deafening bang. The bronze square tripod was indestructible. Although it defended against the 2 dermic power spears, it could not defend against the power of 2 half-martial ancestors of the Golden Crow race. Suzimo shuddered, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard from his arm as it burst into a blood mist. His entire arm was completely crippled by the impact of this attack. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.